Chapter 1698. Bloodline Connection Rustle. Hearing the middle-aged man's instructions, the fire Qilin insect king did not dare to delay and charged towards the Qilin ring. Sizzle! Sizzle! The fire Qilin insect king was swift to the point that it emitted sizzling noises from the friction with the air. Although the fire Qilin insect king's horn was broken by the middle-aged man not long ago, causing its cultivation to drop to the 9th grade Earth sovereign realm. However, the fire Qilin insect king's speed was still terrifying. In practically the blink of an eye, the fire Qilin insect king had already arrived before the Qilin ring and was only half a step away from it. At this distance, the fire unicorn bug king would be able to get its hands on the Qilin ring even if it had a second more. Whoosh! But suddenly, a silhouette flew out and appeared on the back of the Qilin skeleton before the fire Qilin insect king. Upon seeing the thin figure that had suddenly appeared on the Qilin skeleton, not only was the fire Qilin insect king stunned, but even the middle-aged man was shocked speechless. The middle-aged man was clear about the fire Qilin insect king's speed. Furthermore, the fire Qilin insect king was a step ahead of Ningyu. How could the middle-aged man not be shocked when he set off first and arrived later? Ha ha ha! Some rejoiced, while others were worried. The human demon raised his head and laughed. What a joke! I've really shot myself in the foot. Congratulations! What are you waiting for? Hurry up and make your move. Being ridiculed by the human demon, the middle-aged man's face turned extremely dark as he spoke to the fire Qilin insect king. If the Qilin ring is taken by Ningyu, you can die. Boom. Actually, the fire Qilin insect king felt embarrassed even without the middle-aged man's words. No matter what, it was still the fire Qilin insect king with a quasi-saint realm cultivation at its peak. How could it endure being surpassed by a 9th grade Earth sovereign so easily? I'll grind your bones into ashes. The fire Qilin insect king's body swelled up before it turned into a cold streak of light and charged towards Ningyu. At this moment, the fire Qilin insect king had changed its target. At first, the fire Qilin bug king wanted to snatch the Qilin ring, but now its target was Ningyu. The fire unicorn bug king made up its mind that it would definitely get its face back. Ningyu glanced at the fire Qilin insect king before he reached out with his right hand and grabbed the Qilin ring. You're at death's door, but you're still thinking about the Qilin ring. How foolish! Looking at Ningyu's actions, the fire unicorn bug king's lips curled into a smirk. It then sped up once more, and its entire body charged at Ningyu. Black Dragon Sword. Ningyu's mind moved, and he immediately drew out the Black Dragon Sword. Against a powerful demonic beast like the fire Qilin insect king, he had to use the Black Dragon Sword. The fire Qilin insect king's cultivation was only at the 9th grade Earth sovereign realm, so in terms of strength, Ningyu could completely suppress it. The only thing that Ningyu was worried about was the fire Qilin insect king's physical strength. After all, the body of a half-saint realm demonic beast was extremely tough. As long as he could use the Black Dragon Sword to break through the fire Qilin insect king's defenses, Ningyu could instantly kill it. Humph! The fire Qilin insect king's physical strength is comparable to a saint, so how can any flying sword? Seeing Ningyu drawing out a flying sword and slashing towards the fire Qilin insect king, the middle-aged man coldly snorted. However, the middle-aged man's cold snort came to an abrupt halt halfway through. Poof! Far away, the Black Dragon Sword and the fire Qilin insect king clashed. A clear and crisp sound rang out. Everyone in this region, including the human demon, was dumbfounded. That clear and crisp sound was clearly the sound of a flying sword piercing into a body. Without a doubt, the Black Dragon Sword broke through the fire Qilin insect king's defenses and stabbed into its body. Die. Since the Black Dragon Sword had broken through the fire Qilin insect king's defenses, Ningyu no longer held back and immediately poured his energy into the Black Dragon Sword, slashing out once again. Crack! Ning Yu's second attack was so swift that it made one's hair stand on end. He raised his hand and the sword fell. The Fire Kylan Insect King's body was forcefully cut into two by the Black Dragon's sword. If the weeds were not cut by the roots, they would grow again with the spring breeze. Ning Yu understood this logic. Therefore, in that instant, Ning Yu injected a trace of demonic lotus flame into the Black Dragon's sword. When the Black Dragon's sword pierced through the Fire Kylan Insect King's body, the demonic lotus flame quietly entered the Fire Kylan Insect King's body and completely destroyed its primordial spirit. After destroying the Fire Kylan Insect King's primordial spirit, Ning Yu was still not satisfied. He used the remaining trace of demonic lotus flame in the Fire Kylan Insect King's body to control the Fire Kylan Insect King to self-destruct. Rumble! The Fire Kylan Insect King's self-destruction produced a huge shockwave that quickly spread in all directions. Whoosh! Whoosh! In that instant, the human demon and the middle-aged man attacked at the same time. The middle-aged man wanted to use the gap between the Fire Kylan Insect King's self-destruction to control Ning Yu and snatch the Qilin ring. The human demon, on the other hand, blocked the middle-aged man from attacking Ning Yu with all his might. Very good, just you wait. For some unknown reason, after the human demon attacked, the middle-aged man suddenly left behind a ruthless sentence. Then, he quickly dashed away, piercing through another wall and went in. Let me see the Qilin ring. The human demon didn't care where the middle-aged man went. His attention was completely focused on Ning Yu. Extending his right hand, the human demon said in a low voice, "The Qilin ring is very special. It doesn't make sense for you to take it away so easily." Here. Although Ning Yu was extremely unwilling, he had no other choice. He could only take out the Qilin ring and throw it to the human demon. Whoosh! The Qilin ring drew an arc in the air and steadily landed in the human demon's hand. Chi. However, what happened next made both the human demon and Ning Yu dumbfounded. The moment the human demon's right hand touched the Qilin ring, a layer of skin was corroded and fell off. Ding! The human demon hurriedly threw the Qilin ring on the ground. A piercing pain came from his right hand, causing the human demon's face to contort. What the hell is going on? The human demon couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. He was a sage. The Qilin ring might be precious, but it didn't make sense that even a sage couldn't pick it up, right? Besides, if a 9th-grade Earth Supreme like Ning Yu could pick up the Qilin ring, why couldn't a sage like him? How can you pick up the Qilin ring? The human demon thought for a moment and decided to ask Ning Yu. I feel a connection between the Qilin ring and me. Ning Yu didn't dare to be negligent and answered honestly, and when I held the Qilin ring, I felt a blood connection. Blood connection? The human demon's heart skipped a beat. He quickly used his perception to probe Ning Yu's body. It didn't take long. The human demon retracted his perception, his brows furrowing even more. You only have the war god physique. Why do you feel a blood connection with the Qilin ring? The human demon murmured, is it related to the true dragon blood? But then again, the human demon didn't think it was possible. A blood connection with the Qilin ring meant that Ning Yu definitely had the Qilin's bloodline. Chapter 1699. Chapter 1699. Chapter 1699 Kirin Fruit, forget it. Since you have fate with the Qilin ring, I won't force you. The human demon stared at the Qilin ring on the ground and let out a long sigh. He turned to Ning Yu and said, take good care of the Qilin ring. When we enter the higher planes, it will give you great benefit. Thank you, Senior. Although there were no fluctuations in his heart, Ning Yu still revealed an excited expression and hurriedly picked up the Qilin ring from the ground. Ning Yu could clearly feel it. When he picked up the Qilin ring, human demon's mouth twitched involuntarily. The human demon would definitely want the Qilin ring. But in this situation, even if the human demon wanted it, there was no other way. Senior, what should we do now? Ning Yu asked as he put away the Qilin ring. I'll collect this Qilin skeleton before me first. Then, I'll go find the middle-aged man. The human demon took a step forward and landed on top of the Qilin skeleton. With a wave of his hands, a small vortex appeared around the human devil. The vortex grew larger and larger until it sucked the entire Qilin skeleton into it. Very good. After receiving the Qilin skeleton, the human demon nodded in satisfaction. Although it was only the skeleton of a Qilin, the skeleton contained a terrifying amount of energy. Human demon had to deal with the next energy seal explosion, so he needed to store up enough energy as soon as possible. Otherwise, the next time the energy seal broke, the human devil would die without a doubt. Let's go and find more Qilin skeletons. The human demon's eyes lit up like torches as he dashed towards the stone wall where the middle-aged man had disappeared. Chi. This time, the human demon didn't get what he wanted. That was because the human demon sensed a terrifying suction force coming from Ning Yu's body. This suction force was so terrifying that even the demonic humans felt their hearts palpitate. What the hell is this? It didn't take long for the human devil's expression to change. If it was just a terrifying suction force, the human demon naturally wouldn't have such a huge reaction. Most importantly, the target of the suction force was not him, but the Qilin skeleton that he had put away. Xiao. In the blink of an eye, the Qilin ring flew out from Ning Yu's body and floated above the human demon's head. The suction force was getting more and more terrifying. In the end, even the human demon couldn't bear it and gave up control of the Qilin skeleton. As soon as the human demon relinquished control of the Qilin skeleton, the Qilin ring sucked the Qilin skeleton in. Whoosh! After absorbing the Qilin skeleton, the Qilin ring returned to Ning Yu's body. Gulp! Ning Yu couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva as the series of events happened one after another. He was dumbfounded. The Qilin skeleton had already been taken away by the human devil. But the Qilin skeleton was so powerful that it had forcefully snatched it back. Ning Yu carefully looked at the human devil, afraid that he would get angry. Seems like everything is fated. The human demon stared blankly for a few seconds before slowly shaking his head. I should have known that a living Qilin would appear wherever a Qilin ring appears. A living Qilin definitely wouldn't just stand by and watch as their clan skeleton is taken away. Forget it, let's go. The human demon's expression was a little disappointed, and he didn't even have the mood to go deeper into the cave. Even if he could find more Qilin skeletons, it wouldn't help. As long as the Qilin ring existed, there was no way he could get the Qilin skeleton. Senior, I don't think I can leave. Ning Yu took out the Qilin ring and said, "It seems to want to go to the deepest part of the cave." The human demon raised an eyebrow and stared at the Qilin ring. Since the Qilin ring wants to go, we can't not go. Let the Qilin ring lead the way, we'll follow behind. Alright. Ning Yu grabbed the Qilin ring and threw it out. Whoosh! The Qilin ring turned into a blur and sped off in the direction that the middle-aged man disappeared. Let's go. Ning Yu and the human demon looked at each other. Then, they dashed forward and followed closely behind the Qilin ring. At first, Ning Yu thought that the Qilin cave was only this deep, but the more he followed behind the Qilin ring, the more apprehensive he became. The Qilin cave was obviously a bottomless pit. He and the human demon followed the Qilin ring for a full 10 minutes, but they still hadn't reached the deepest part. Ning Yu even suspected that the Qilin ring would lead them out of the Moling mountain range. Reality proved it. Even after 10 minutes of running, Ning Yu and the others were still inside the Qilin cave. The middle-aged man. After 10 minutes, Ning Yu and the human demon saw the middle-aged man. The man was staring at a fiery red tree in front of him, his eyes shining with a golden light. A Qilin tree. It was obvious that this fiery red tree was a Qilin tree. There were 4 fiery red fruits on the Qilin tree. Qilin fruit. Seeing the 4 fiery red fruits on the Qilin tree, Ning Yu and the human demon's eyes shone with a golden light. The Qilin fruit on the Qilin tree was clearly immature. Even if it was an unripe Qilin fruit, it could allow a pinnacle sky supreme to rise by 1 or 2 rank. In other words, the Qilin fruit on the Qilin tree could help a peak sky supreme ascend to half-sage, or even directly ascend to the sage realm. Although the Qilin fruit couldn't help a sage unconditionally ascend a level, it was still very tempting to a sage. Just think about it, if a sage who was in the process of ascending obtained a Qilin fruit, their chances of ascending would greatly increase. For a sage to ascend was harder than ascending to the heavens. So when the middle-aged man and the human demon saw the Qilin fruit, their eyes burned with desire. The Qilin fruit is mine. The middle-aged man suddenly turned around and glared at the human demon. I came here first and found the Qilin fruit first, so the 4 Qilin fruits on this tree are all mine. Idiot. Ningyu glanced at the middle-aged man, then at the Qilin ring hovering in midair, and rolled his eyes. Since the Qilin ring had stopped, it meant that there was something it feared in the surroundings. Moreover, Ningyu had already received a message from the Qilin ring. Fury, irritation, anger. The message from the Qilin ring was full of dissatisfaction and anger. Although the Qilin ring didn't clearly state why, Ningyu guessed that someone must have used the Qilin corpses to cultivate the Qilin tree. One had to know that the Qilin tree's growth conditions were abnormally harsh. Qilin blood and Qilin meat were all fertilizer for the Qilin tree. Ningyu made a preliminary judgment. If all 4 Qilin fruits on the Qilin tree ripened, then there was 100% chance that a sage could unconditionally ascend a level. And to make 4 Qilin fruits mature, at least a dozen Qilin corpses were needed. In other words, in order to cultivate the Qilin tree in front of him, there had to be at least a dozen Qilin corpses in the Qilin cave. Chapter 1700. Mysterious Martial Artists. Humph. What kind of bullshit logic is this? I want to see just how you'll be able to steal away the 4 Qilin fruits outside. The human demon didn't know what Ningyu was thinking. He only cared about the ownership of the 4 Qilin fruits. The immature Qilin fruit was extremely attractive to human demons. There was an energy seal in the human devil's body. Once the seal broke, it would require a large amount of energy to replenish itself. Each Qilin fruit contained a terrifying amount of energy. According to the human demon's calculations, if he could obtain 4 Qilin fruits, then even if the energy seal within his body were to explode, he would still have nothing to fear. Thus, the human demon made up his mind to snatch the Qilin fruit from the middle-aged man. As soon as he finished speaking, the human devil stomped the ground and rushed toward the Qilin tree. The human demon's way of thinking was very simple. He who struck first would gain the upper hand, and those who struck later would suffer a calamity. In this area, he and the middle-aged man were the strongest. As long as he could catch up to the middle-aged man, he would be able to obtain 4 Qilin fruits. Old fart, how dare you trick me? Seeing the human devil suddenly attack, the middle-aged man's expression greatly changed. He cursed inwardly and immediately rushed out. The reason why the middle-aged man didn't immediately try to snatch the Qilin fruit was because he had his own considerations. Firstly, as a sage, the middle-aged man's perception was very strong. He knew very well that the Qilin fruit had not fully ripened yet. Moreover, with every passing second, the Qilin fruit would ripen a little more. The middle-aged man wanted to wait for the Qilin fruit to ripen a bit more before picking it. But now, before he could even make a move, the human devil had already made a move. This was intolerable. The middle-aged man would never be able to tolerate such a situation. In order to snatch the Qilin fruit before the human demon, the middle-aged man didn't hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. Almost in an instant, the middle-aged man and the human demon were neck and neck. Buzz. Not long after the human demon and the middle-aged man rushed out, Ningyu suddenly discovered that the Qilin ring above his head was slightly trembling. When the Qilin ring shook, it constantly transmitted that kind of angry emotion to Ningyu. Something bad is about to happen. Ning Yu's expression changed drastically. The message from the Qilin ring was very irritable and angry. But now, he was even more irritable and furious. Although it was irritable and furious, the Qilin ring still did not make a move. It was obvious that the Qilin ring was afraid of something. The Qilin ring could even corrode the palm of a human demon, so the thing it was afraid of must be exceptionally terrifying. "Senior, please stop." Thinking of this, Ning Yu hurriedly shouted at the human demon. Whoosh! Ning Yu's roar caused the human demon to pause for a moment. "Be careful. Once I snatch the Kirin fruit, I will definitely give you one." The human demon looked back at Ning Yu. Then, he turned around and rushed towards the Kirin fruit at full speed. "Ha ha ha, you're too slow." The moment the human demon turned around gave the middle-aged man a chance. After letting out a maniacal laugh, the middle-aged man burned another drop of blood essence, increasing his speed by another third. Originally, the middle-aged man was running neck and neck with the human devil. Now that he had ignited his essence blood to increase his speed, he had left the human devil in the dust. Damn it! Seeing that he had been left behind, the human demon was so angry that he almost cursed out loud. The Qilin fruit was something that the human demon was determined to obtain. If he missed this opportunity, then there wouldn't be another one. Thus, at this moment, the human demon was extremely dissatisfied with Ning Yu. If not for the fact that Ning Yu had helped him before, he would have crippled Ning Yu. Gotcha! At this moment, a crisp sound resounded through the area. This sudden cracking sound dispelled all of the dissatisfaction the human demon had towards Ning Yu. Gulp! Staring at the middle-aged man kneeling beneath the Qilin tree, the human demon gulped down a mouthful of saliva. His face turned deathly white. At this moment, the human demon was a little grateful to Ning Yu. If not for Ning Yu calling out to him, the martial artist kneeling beneath the Qilin tree might not have been the middle-aged man, but him. Because of the energy seal within his body, his strength wasn't much different from the early Sage Realm middle-aged man's. If even the middle-aged man was defeated, then the human demon's fate wouldn't have been any better if he had reached the Qilin tree first. "Who is it? Who is it that's hiding and doesn't dare to show your face?" The middle-aged man pushed against the ground with his right hand and stood up with difficulty. Sweeping his gaze across the area, the middle-aged man's cold voice rang out. "Come out if you have the gut. Let's fight 300 rounds. Gotcha!" As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, another cracking sound rang out in the area. Thump! Thump! Then, the sound of knees hitting the ground rang out. Ning Yu and the human demon stared blankly at the middle-aged man's miserable state, their expressions turning grave. Without even showing his face, he had shattered the middle-aged man's knees. This kind of strength was truly terrifying. The Qilin fruit isn't something you can touch. I advise you to leave this place as soon as possible, or don't blame me for being impolite. The cold words filled the entire area. Ning Yu and the human demon held their breaths, not daring to even breathe loudly. Under the Qilin tree, the middle-aged man's body trembled uncontrollably, a look of terror on his face. Ever since the middle-aged man had descended to the immortal spirit realm from a higher realm, he had never met such a powerful cultivator. Despite his terror, the middle-aged man didn't dare to linger here for too long. Dragging his heavy legs, he crawled out of the Qilin cave step by step. Although he could use his Yuan Qi to fly, the middle-aged man didn't dare to do so. He was afraid of offending the hidden expert. Pretending to be a coward now was better than being killed. Sha sha. The middle-aged man kept slapping the ground with both hands. It wasn't a long journey, but he had to crawl for a few minutes before he made it through. Whoosh! The middle-aged man didn't even look back as he sprinted out of the Qilin cave. "Why aren't you leaving? Do you want to die?" After the middle-aged man disappeared, the cold and indifferent voice rang out again. "We'll leave now." The human demon took one last look at the Qilin fruit, then grabbed Ning Yu's shoulder and retreated. As he retreated, Ningyu conveniently put on the Qilin ring. Before long, Ningyu and the human demon retreated to the place where they had obtained the Qilin ring. What bad luck! The human demon put down Ningyu and said angrily, "We were so close to obtaining the Qilin fruit, but who would have thought that there would be a martial artist who surpassed the sage level?" Surpassed the sage level? Ningyu frowned slightly and asked, "Senior human demon, if I remember correctly, there is a plane barrier in the immortal spirit realm. Martial artists who surpassed the sage level shouldn't be able to stay in the immortal spirit realm, right?" There is indeed a plane barrier in the immortal spirit realm, but it only prevents sages from descending. If it's a native sage, or a native existence who surpassed the sage level. Oh right. The human demon waved his hand impatiently. Just as he was about to explain to Ningyu, his eyes widened, and his face filled with pleasant surprise. Due to the existence of the plane barrier in the immortal spirit realm, all martial artists who surpassed the sage level, including native sages, couldn't display their full strength. In other words, even if the mysterious martial artist controlling the Qilin tree was in existence who surpassed the sage level, he could only display the strength of a sage great perfection. If he only displayed the strength of a sage great perfection, I might be able to put up a fight. The human demon took a deep breath and said in a low voice. At his peak, the human demon was also in existence who surpassed the sage level. As the saying went, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Although the human demon could only display the strength of a primary sage level now, if he burned his life force and used his trump card, he could still display the strength of a sage great perfection. However, burning his life force would accelerate the explosion of the energy seal, which the human demon normally wouldn't use. Now that there was a chance to obtain the 4 Qilin fruits, the human demon decided to go all out. As the saying went, one must sacrifice the child to catch the wolf. Chapter 1701. Chapter 1701. Chapter 1701. Go back the way we came, let's rest here for a while. Although the human demon wanted to go back and snatch the Qilin fruit, he wasn't so impulsive as to rush back immediately. After all, the human demon's strength wasn't at its peak. Demons that were not at their peak would not be able to use their trump cards. The human demon was well aware that as long as he couldn't use his trump card, then even if he returned, he was doomed to fail to compete for the Qilin fruit. After warning Ningyu, the human demon sat cross-legged on the ground, took out an immortal crystal, and began devouring it. Back then, the brocade-robed cultivator did not hesitate to take out 50 immortal crystals in order to keep the human demon. From the looks of it, it was fortunate that the embroidered-robed cultivator had taken out the 50 immortal crystals. Otherwise, it would have been difficult for the human demon to recover to his peak state in a short time. Could it be that human demon wants to kill his way back? The human demon's actions caused Ningyu to frown slightly. He vaguely felt that something was wrong. If the human demon wanted to leave, he would have already left the Qilin cave. Since the human demon hadn't left, that meant he was still brooding over the Kirin fruit and wanted to kill his way back. Forget it. I'd better recuperate as soon as possible. Ningyu couldn't do anything about the human demon's actions. In any case, the fact that human demon was going to kill his way back was already a foregone conclusion. What Ningyu needed to worry about was his condition. If he could adjust his mental state to its peak before killing his way back, he would have a higher chance of survival. Taking out a Saint-grade origin crystal from his storage ring, Ningyu circulated his spirit transformation technique to the maximum and began his journey of recovery. Ningyu's recuperation was different from that of the demonic humans. The human demon simply wanted to recover to his peak, while Ningyu wanted to take another step forward and reach the quasi-heavenly sovereign realm. Only Ningyu would dare to do such a crazy thing. If it was anyone else, they would not dare to take the risk. Going from the 9th grade Earth sovereign realm to the quasi-heavenly sovereign realm might seem like half a level, but it was a huge leap. One was an Earth Supreme, the other a Sky Supreme. With Ning Yu's current strength, he could contend with a late-stage Sky Supreme. According to Ning Yu's estimation, if he could reach the quasi-heavenly sovereign realm, then he could even confront a pinnacle heavenly sovereign. Therefore, this risk was completely worth it. While Ning Yu and the human devil were recuperating in the deepest depths of the Qilin cave, beneath the Qilin tree, buzz, the void trembled, and an old man in gray robes quietly appeared. After the gray-robed elder appeared, he first set up a small formation around the Qilin tree, then stomped his feet heavily on the ground. Kacha! Kacha! The ground suddenly split open, and a huge corpse slowly rose from the crack. The Qilin's corpse. If Ning Yu and the human demon were here, they would have noticed that the corpse that rose from the crack was the Qilin's corpse. Kirin fruit. The gray-clothed old man stared at the 4 Kirin fruits, and his lips curved up in an unnatural smile. In order to cultivate 4 matured Kirin fruits, the gray-clothed old man had searched almost all the small plains and plundered more than a dozen Qilin corpses. The reason why the gray-clothed old man had chosen to cultivate the Kirin fruits in the immortal spirit realm was because the plane barrier there was slightly loosened, allowing him to unleash the strength of a sage. In other small planes, the plane barrier was still intact, so he could only unleash the strength of an early-stage sage. To be on the safe side, the gray-clothed old man had to choose the immortal spirit realm. Go! The gray-clothed old man stared at the first Qilin corpse, then shook his head and controlled the corpse to fly toward the Qilin tree. Rumble! While flying, the Qilin corpse suddenly exploded. Countless pieces of flesh flew everywhere and entered the Qilin tree. Bang! As soon as the Qilin corpse entered the Qilin tree, one of the Qilin fruits let out a dull sound. This muffled sound signified that the Qilin fruit was beginning to reach its final stage of ripening. Again, seeing that the first Qilin corpse was effective, the gray-clothed old man took out another Qilin corpse from the crack and used the same method to force it into the Qilin tree. Bang! What happened next was more or less the same. Every time a Qilin corpse was thrown into the Qilin tree, a Qilin fruit would let out a dull sound. After throwing 7 or 8 Qilin corpses into the Qilin tree, the gray-clothed old man finally stopped to rest. To be honest, although the gray-clothed old man had thrown the Qilin corpse into the Qilin tree with ease, he was extremely nervous. At this time, he could not be disturbed by others, or all his efforts would be in vain. As long as I throw the remaining 8 Qilin corpses into the Qilin tree, the 4 Qilin fruits will be fully mature. The gray-clothed old man did not dare to relax. He rested for 3 minutes and then immediately began to work. Bang! As time went on, one by one, the corpses were thrown into the Qilin tree. After being transformed by the Qilin tree, all of them flowed into the Qilin fruit. Go! In the blink of an eye, the 16th corpse appeared from the crack and flew toward the Qilin tree. This is the last one. Seeing the Qilin corpse flying toward the Qilin tree, the gray-clothed old man's face was filled with joy. He had spent so much time and did not hesitate to descend from a high-level realm just for the 4 Qilin fruits. Now that success was right in front of him, how could he not be excited? Whoosh! However, the gray-clothed old man's excitement was a little premature. Before the last Qilin corpse could explode, the stone wall in the distance suddenly cracked. 2 figures appeared in the gray-clothed old man's sight. As expected, as soon as they appeared, the human demon glared at the gray-clothed old man and said coldly, "Due to the suppression of the realm barrier, you can only unleash the strength of a perfected sage for now. You guys again." The gray-clothed old man clenched his fists when he saw the human demon and Ning Yu. The anger on his face became more and more obvious. "If I knew that you guys were so arrogant, I would have killed you guys just now. You want to kill us?" The human demon's lips curled up and he said disdainfully, "If you were confident that you could kill us, you would have done it long ago. You definitely wouldn't have let us leave." The human demon had seen through everything. Although the gray-clothed old man could unleash the strength of a perfected sage, he was wary of the human demon's trump card, so he did not make a move earlier. After all, the gray-clothed old man's main goal was to obtain the Qilin fruits, not to take risk. Just you wait. The gray-clothed old man glared at the human demon. Then, with a thought, he controlled the last Qilin corpse and made it explode. Rumble! The 16th Qilin corpse was the largest one. Its explosion was extremely terrifying. Fortunately, the gray-clothed old man had a backup plan. Even if he sent the fragments of the explosion into the Qilin tree, it was very likely that all his efforts would have been in vain. Phew! After sending the last Qilin corpse into the Qilin tree, the gray-clothed old man could not help but let out a long breath. Chapter 1702. Boom, 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 boom. The last Qilin corpse did not disappoint the elder. For muffled sounds came from the Qilin fruit. Every muffled sound was like an immortal's tune, making the elder extremely excited. Ha ha ha! The gray-robed old man threw his head back and laughed. His laughter was very arrogant. Whoosh! At that instant, a cold glint suddenly shot out from Ningyu's body. Qilin ring. Ningyu's expression changed when he saw the cold glint. Ningyu had tried his best to put the Qilin ring into his spatial ring, but the Qilin ring had broken through the ring's defenses and flew out. What? Ningyu wasn't the only one who was shocked when the Qilin ring flew out from the spatial ring. Even the elder's eyes widened. The elder's reaction was fundamentally different from Ningyu's. Ningyu was surprised that the Qilin ring had broken through the ring's defenses, but the elder was very interested in the Qilin ring. Although the elder and the Qilin ring were both in the Qilin cave, the elder was in the deepest part of the Qilin cave, while the Qilin ring was in the middle of the cave, on top of a giant Qilin skeleton. Furthermore, the Qilin ring did not emit any special aura, so it was reasonable that the elder had not noticed it. The elder stared at the Qilin ring in midair, the joy in his eyes growing stronger. Good, good, good. Very good. The gray-clad old man spat out the word good repeatedly. He was so excited that he almost jumped up. Soon, the gray-clothed elder took a deep breath and tried his best to calm himself down. Come out, I know you're in there. The elder looked at the Qilin ring and said, I can spare your life if you're willing to submit to me. The elder's words left Ningyu and the human demon dumbfounded. What's going on? Is there someone in the Qilin ring? Ningyu and the human demon's gaze instantly shifted to the Qilin ring. They wanted to see what was inside the Qilin ring. However, no matter how hard Ningyu and the human demon probed, they couldn't find any clues. Whoosh! Ningyu and the human demon couldn't find any clues, but it didn't mean that there was nothing in the Qilin ring. Suddenly, a cold light shot out from the Qilin ring and charged towards the gray-robed old man at an extremely shocking speed. Looking at the cold light that was charging at him, the elder in gray curled his lips. He stood where he was and did not move. Bang! Although the cold light was fast, it was blocked by a transparent barrier before it could reach the gray-robed old man. A small-scale array formation. In order to ensure that the 4 Kirin fruits would smoothly ripen, the gray-clothed old man arranged a small array formation around them. If the cold light wanted to get close to the gray-robed old man, it would have to break through the small array formation. It was very obvious that with Cold Gleam's current strength, it was very difficult to break open the small-scale array. Ha ha ha, I wasn't mistaken. You really are a Qilin. The gray-clothed old man stared at the body of the cold light and could not help but raise his head and laugh maniacally. The true form of the cold light was none other than a genuine Qilin. The only thing that could make the gray-robed elder excited was the Qilin. Qilin! Seeing Cold Gleam reveal its true form, Ningyu and the human demon looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. It was a Qilin. Even the weakest Qilin was abnormally terrifying in strength. The Sage Realm. Although the Qilin in front of them was small in size and age, Its cultivation was at the early stage of the sage realm. At that moment, Ningyu instantly understood. No wonder he could feel anger and irritation from the Qilin ring. It turned out that those emotions were coming from the Qilin in front of him. Actually, it made sense. Anyone would be extremely angry that their own clansmen were being used as nourishment for Qilin fruit. It was not easy for this Qilin to endure until now. Help me break the array formation, and I will give you a great opportunity. The Qilin's childish voice rang in Ningyu and the human demon's ears. Ningyu and the human demon were stunned when they heard the Qilin's words. Little Qilin. The Qilin in front of them had probably just been born. Strictly speaking, this Qilin was equivalent to a 5-year-old child. I'll give you one last chance. Submit to me. The gray-robed elder's voice rang out at the right time, and he said coldly, or die. You killed my clansman, so I will definitely take your life today. The little Qilin snorted coldly, not losing to the gray-robed elder at all. Although the little Qilin's cultivation was only at the early stage of the sage realm, it might not be weaker than the gray-robed elder in a real battle. After all, the Qilin clan's body was abnormally tough. Just by relying on its body, the little Qilin could fight against a late-stage sage realm martial artist. Although the gray-robed elder could unleash the strength of a sage realm perfected, the little Qilin could use the Qilin's aura to suppress the gray-robed elder's strength in the Qilin cave and fight him head-on. Seeing that the conflict between the little Qilin and the gray-robed elder was getting worse, Ningyu could not help but look at the human demon. The current situation was very clear. The little Qilin wanted to fight the gray-robed elder. In fact, Ningyu still hoped that the human demon would help the little Qilin. Putting aside the fact that the little Qilin had come out of the Qilin ring, he should help the little Qilin from both sides. After all, the enemy of an enemy was a friend. Although Ningyu wanted the human demon to help the little Qilin, it was not convenient for him to say it out loud. After all, fighting with the gray-robed elder was extremely dangerous, and he might die here if things went awry. However, what happened next forced Ningyu to bite the bullet and look for the human demon. Big brother, can you help little Qilin just this once? A pleading voice suddenly came from the Yuzuan pagoda and entered Ningyu's ears. The golden-haired little girl. The one who spoke was none other than the golden-haired little girl in the Yuzuan pagoda. If it was someone else pleading with Ningyu, Ningyu might have considered it. However, Ningyu did not dare to slight the golden-haired little girl's request. He had promised the black-robed cultivator that he would not let the golden-haired little girl suffer. Now that the golden-haired little girl had a request, he naturally had to agree. Moreover, Ningyu had already determined that the golden-haired little girl had a deep relationship with the Qilin clan. Helping the golden-haired little girl was the same as helping the Qilin clan. With the Qilin clan's way of doing things, he would definitely not suffer a loss. Senior Human Demon, I would like to ask for your help to break the array formation. Ningyu gritted his teeth and said to the human demon. Break the array formation? The human demon was taken aback. He did not understand what Ningyu meant by this. In the human demon's heart, he was very unwilling to help the little Qilin. The human demon's thinking was very simple. He would sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. As long as the little Qilin and the gray-robed elder fought, both of them would definitely be heavily injured. Once the two of them were heavily injured, he would go and snatch the Qilin fruit. Wouldn't that be easy? Chapter 1703. A Qilin Senior. I actually have one last drop of true dragon blood on me. Seeing the human demon's reaction, Ningyu gritted his teeth and fished out a jade bottle. True dragon blood. The jade bottle contained the blood of a true dragon. In order for Ningyu to protect the golden-haired girl, the mysterious powerhouse had given Ningyu 3 drops of true dragon blood before leaving with the crystal coffin. Of the 2 drops, a small portion had been consumed by Ningyu's body tempering. Most of it had been devoured and refined by the human demon. It was thanks to the 2 drops that the human demon had been able to resolve the energy seal's explosion. Otherwise, he would have been dead a long time ago. Although there was only 1 drop of true dragon blood left, Ningyu had still taken it out for the human demon to help the little Qilin. Senior, as long as you can help break the formation and join forces with the little Qilin to defeat the gray-robed elder, it's yours. Ningyu shook the jade bottle in his hand. The human demon didn't answer Ningyu immediately. Instead, he stared at the jade bottle in Ningyu's hand with a fiery expression. Why had the human demon come all the way to the Qilin cave? Wasn't it to find enough energy to deal with the next explosion of the energy seal? Now that the opportunity was right in front of him, how could the human demon not be excited? In fact, a frightening thought surfaced in the human demon's mind. Subdue Ningyu and snatch the true dragon blood. However, this thought only lingered in the human demon's mind for a split second before it was quickly tossed to the back of his mind. The human demon wasn't the kind of person who would bite the hand that fed him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been schemed against back in the higher planes. Taking a deep breath, the human demon turned to Ningyu. Since you've asked, I must help. With that, the human demon stomped the ground and turned into a blur as he charged at the gray-robed elder. Whoosh! Before the human devil could reach the gray-robed old man, the surrounding array formations suddenly rose up and a barrier blocked the human devil's path. Open! The human demon clenched his fists and let out a low roar before smashing his fists against the barrier. Chi-chi! Violent yuan qi pulsed on the human demon's fist. The might of the human demon's punch had reached a terrifying level. Gotcha! In just one move, the human demon had shattered the barrier. Then, the human demon raised his fist again and smashed it against the barrier. Ka-ka-ka-ka! Every time the human demon raised his fist, the barrier would emit a cracking sound. Just a little more. The gray-robed elder paid attention to the barrier as well as the changes in the Qilin fruit. With 16 Qilin corpses as fertilizer, the 4 Qilin fruits grew rapidly, instantly ripening by 2/3. At this rate, it would only take 3 minutes at most for the 4 Qilin fruits to completely ripen. Because the Kirin fruit was of utmost importance, the gray-clothed old man allowed the human demon to attack the barrier without interfering. Time was ticking away. The gray-robed elder paid close attention to the changes in the Qilin fruit. The human devil was attacking the barrier with all his might, and the little Qilin was floating in the air, preparing for something. As for Ningyu, he took a few steps back, paying close attention to the surroundings. Earlier, the gray-robed elder had broken the middle-aged man's legs and threatened him to leave. At that time, the middle-aged man had indeed left, but who knew if he would return like the human demon? If the human demon and the gray-robed elder were both injured, and the middle-aged man suddenly returned, wouldn't they be finished? Therefore, Ningyu's main task was to survey the surroundings. If there was any disturbance, he could inform the human demon in advance and have him prepare. Right at this moment, the human demon's fist brought with it a violent yuan qi gale as it smashed against the barrier. Rumble! With a loud rumble, the barrier shattered from the inside out. The barrier was the protective umbrella of an array formation. Now that it was broken, it meant that the array formation's defensive power was greatly reduced. What happened next could be predicted. After the human demon blasted open the barrier, it only took him a dozen seconds to successfully break through the formation. Hand over your life! As soon as the human demon destroyed the array formation, the small Qilin in midair rushed toward the gray-robed elder. Damn it, only 10 seconds left. Seeing the small Qilin rushing toward him, the gray-robed elder couldn't help but curse. 10 seconds. Only 10 seconds were needed for the 4 Qilin fruits to fully ripen. How could the gray-robed elder not be angry when the small Qilin attacked him at this time? However, anger aside, the gray-robed elder could only bite the bullet and fight back. How dare a newly born Qilin behave atrociously in front of me? I'll cripple you! The gray-robed elder's eyes were unusually cold as he rushed toward the small Qilin and said fiercely. At the same time, the gray-robed elder displayed the aura of a perfected saint and crazily pressed down on the small Qilin. The gray-robed elder's idea was simple. If he could use his aura to suppress the small Qilin, then he could turn back and control the Qilin fruit. Although the gray-robed elder wanted to subdue the small Qilin, he wasn't stupid. It would take a long time to subdue the small Qilin, and the human demon beside him definitely wouldn't give him that much time. Pluck the 4 Qilin fruits, kill the human demon, and finally find a way to subdue the small Qilin. That was the gray-robed elder's plan. However, the plan couldn't keep up with the changes. Kill! The small Qilin bellowed when it saw the gray-robed elder rushing toward it. Following the bellow, a huge Qilin shadow appeared in the sky above the small Qilin. What? The sudden change caused the gray-robed elder's expression to change drastically. The Qilin's shadow above the small Qilin's head was very real. If the gray-robed elder's cultivation hadn't surpassed a sage, he definitely wouldn't have known that the small Qilin had summoned a Qilin shadow. However, even though the gray-robed elder knew that the small Qilin had summoned a Qilin shadow, his expression still turned ugly. This was because the Qilin shadow summoned by the small Qilin was unusually terrifying. Moreover, the gray-robed elder could even feel a sense of oppression from the Qilin shadow. The gray-robed elder shifted his gaze slightly and looked at the small Qilin. Qilin true blood. The gray-robed elder's already gloomy face became even darker when he looked at the small Qilin. The reason the small Qilin could summon the Qilin shadow was because it was constantly consuming the Qilin true blood. The amount of Qilin true blood consumed by the small Qilin shocked even the gray-robed elder. In a short period of time, the small Qilin had already consumed more than 10 drops of Qilin true blood. That was the Qilin true blood, an existence comparable to the true dragon blood. It wasn't just the gray-robed elder. Even Ning Yu and the human demon's eyes widened in shock. What a wastrel! What a wastrel! Chapter 1704. Chapter 1704. Chapter 1704 True Dragon Heart Blood. The human demon did not think about it, and Ning Yu did not dare to think about it either. Ning Yu and the human demon looked at each other and saw the fervor in each other's eyes. Neither Ning Yu nor the human devil spoke. Even if he wanted the Qilin true blood, he would have to have the ability to do so. The reason why the little Qilin was willing to expend so much Qilin true blood to summon the Qilin projection was to kill the gray-robed elder. If Ning Yu and the human devil could help the little Qilin kill the gray-robed old man, it might be possible for them to get a few drops of Qilin true blood. However, Ning Yu and human demon weren't confident that they could kill the old man. No, it was the human demon who did not have absolute confidence in killing the gray-robed old man, not Ning Yu. As a 9th-grade Earth Sovereign, not to mention killing the gray-clothed elder, even approaching the gray-clothed elder was as difficult as ascending the heavens. Bang! 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 Suddenly, 4 muffled sounds came from within the Kirin fruit. Hearing the sudden muffled sound, the gray-robed elder's face revealed a look of pleasant surprise. It had matured. After bitterly waiting for so many years and going to so many small plains, the Kirin fruit had finally ripened. How could the old man not be excited? A matured Qilin fruit could allow a sage to unconditionally advance by a small level. If all 4 were to be swallowed at the same time, it could even allow a martial artist who had surpassed the sage level to ascend. This was also the reason why the gray-clothed old man was so excited. The gray-robed old man was an existence that surpassed sages in the higher planes. However, in the sect that the gray-robed elder belonged to, the gray-robed elder wasn't the sect master, but the vice-sect master. Deity Transformation Sect. The gray-robed old man was the vice-sect master of the Divine Transformation Sect in the high-level existential plane. His name was Mo Qianya. In order to seize the position of sect master of the Divine Transformation Sect, Mo Qianye didn't hesitate to travel to various small plains to plunder Qilin corpses to cultivate Qilin fruit. Now that the Kirin fruit had been raised, Mo Qianye's first thought was to leave rather than continue entangling himself with the little Kirin. Where there's life, there's hope. He would return to his own high-level plane, swallow 4 Qilin fruits, advance his cultivation, and then seize the position of sect master of the Divine Transformation sect. Then, he would think of a way to send the experts of the Deity Transformation sect to the immortal spirit realm to capture the little Qilin and the human demon. Wouldn't that be perfect? Ha ha ha! The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. He couldn't help but laugh wildly. Kill! Little Qilin didn't care about Mo Qianye's silly smile. It only had one thought in its mind, and that was to kill Mo Qianye. Boom! In midair, the Qilin phantom image rushed out and arrived in front of the gray-robed old man in the blink of an eye, clashing head-on with him. Poochie! In just one exchange of blows, the gray-robed old man was sent flying several feet away by the Qilin phantom. He crashed heavily against the stone wall and spat out a mouthful of dark red blood. Just you wait. I, Mo Qianye of the Deity Transformation sect, will not forgive you. With no time to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, Mo Qianye left behind some ruthless words. Then, he uprooted the Qilin fruit and tore through the void to enter. Where are you going? Seeing the gray-robed old man enter the void, Human Demon's expression changed drastically. He immediately waved his hand and fanned out a terrifying palm print. Human Demon's attention had always been on Mo Qianye. It would be very difficult for Mo Qianye to leave under Human Demon's attention. Crack! Human Demon didn't hesitate to use his trump card to display the terrifying power of a saint at the full circle. The void exploded. Mo Qianye was blasted out by Human Demon's powerful palm print. You! After being blasted out of the void, the gray-robed old man stared fiercely at Human Demon and said coldly, "You're finished. Offending me, Mo Qianye, is equivalent to becoming the enemy of the entire Deity Transformation sect." Bah! Human Demon spat and said disdainfully, "When I was at my peak, I could destroy a small sect like the Deity Transformation sect with one hand. Shameless boasting. We'll meet again." Mo Qianye clenched his fist. Then, his figure flickered and entered the void again. This time, Human Demon didn't continue to attack. Human Demon was currently equivalent to an early-stage saint. The reason he could display the power of a saint at the full circle was because he used his trump card. Trump cards were called trump cards because they couldn't be used continuously. It wasn't easy for Human Demon to use one of his trump cards at the risk of serious injuries. Although Human Demon didn't continue to attack, Mo Qianye was still blasted out of the void. This time, it was the Qilin Phantom. The Qilin's attack was even more terrifying than the Human Demon's trump card. Not only was Mo Qianye blasted out of the void, but he also suffered fatal injuries. Ah! Despite his injuries, Mo Qianye still threw his head back and laughed wildly. I finally know. Has he lost his mind? Human Demon was a little puzzled by Mo Qianye's actions. He thought that Mo Qianye had lost his mind. Mo Qianye hasn't lost his mind. He saw through the Qilin Phantom, Ningyu said solemnly. What do you mean? Human Demon asked. The Qilin Phantom's strength is terrifying, but every time it attacks, it consumes a large amount of Qilin true blood and time. Ningyu explained. In this situation, the Qilin Phantom will need at least 3 minutes to attack a third time. With that said, Ningyu glanced at the Human Demon and said, "You've already used your trump card. You won't be able to use it a second time in a short period of time." Mo Qianye is excited because of this. Swoosh! Human Demon's expression turned ugly at Ningyu's analysis. If Ningyu's analysis was correct, then all of them were likely doomed. Right at this moment, Ningyu took a step forward and shook the last drop of true dragon blood in the jade bottle. He then said to Emochinya, "Take out 2 Qilin fruits and I won't use this drop of blood. Are you trying to scare me?" Emochenya's lips curled up in disdain. "I wasn't afraid even when the little Qilin took out so much Qilin true blood. Do you think I'd be afraid of that drop of true dragon blood in your hand? Don't try to act smart." Ha ha ha! All of a sudden, Ningyu threw his head back and laughed maniacally. After laughing madly, Ningyu said gloomily, "To tell you the truth, this drop of true dragon blood in my hand is the heart blood of an ancient golden dragon. It's far from something an ordinary Qilin's blood can compare to. So long as I use this drop of true dragon heart blood, think about what will happen to you." "Impossible. How could you have the heart blood of a true dragon?" Emochinya shook his head continuously. He didn't believe Ningyu had the heart blood of a true dragon. There were 3 kinds of blood in a true dragon. The weakest was true dragon blood essence, which was also known as true dragon blood. A little stronger was the blood of a true dragon. A single drop was equivalent to countless drops of true dragon blood. As for the 3rd kind, it was the essence blood of a true dragon. Every ancient giant dragon had a drop of lifeblood in their body. 1 drop of lifeblood was equivalent to many drops of blood from the heart. Although Emochinya didn't believe Ningyu's words, his legs betrayed him. Emochinya's legs were slightly trembling. Chapter 1705. Chapter 1705. Chapter 1705. To strike suddenly, a Kirin fruit. Emochinya glanced at the Qilin in the air, and then said to Ningyu through gritted teeth, "This is my bottom line." The human demon was dumbfounded after hearing Emochinya's words. Had Emochinya lost his mind? How terrifying was the true dragon's heart blood! No matter how powerful Ningyu was, it was impossible for him to possess the true dragon's heart blood. However, what shocked the human demon even further was yet to come. Ningyu's attitude was extremely unyielding as he coldly said, 3 Qilin fruits, not 1 less. You're forcing me to take action." Emochinya's eyes flickered incessantly as he struggled with his thoughts. Emochinya didn't make a move because he wasn't sure whether the blood in Ningyu's hand was the true dragon's heart blood or not. Emochinya was also worried. If Ningyu really had the true dragon's heart blood, wouldn't he have to bear the consequences if he acted rashly? But Emochinya didn't want to hang around without taking action. 3 more minutes, just 3 more minutes, and the Qilin in the air would be able to unleash another powerful attack. At that time, it would be very difficult to escape. Emochinya was caught in a dilemma. He couldn't take action, but he also couldn't stay put. It was just that Emochinya would never agree to hand over the 3 Qilin fruits even if he was beaten to death. "Kid, becoming my enemy is the same as becoming the enemy of the God Transformation sect." Emochinya stared at Ningyu and said, "As long as you give me the true dragon's heart blood, I can take you away from the immortal spirit realm. I also promise to make you the vice sect master of the Transformation God sect. You can use all the resources of the Transformation God sect as you please." Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said calmly, "That's a good suggestion, but I've always been a practical person. Don't come up with those empty promises. Give me some benefits first." How could Ningyu not know what he was up to? However, what Ningyu needed to do now was to stall for time and not to completely fall out with Emochinya. As long as they could stall for time until the Qilin Phantom regained its combat strength, then all the problems would be easily solved. After all, Emochinya was already seriously injured at the moment and was far from being able to exert the combat power of a saint in the great perfection. Of course there are benefits. A cold light shot out from Emochinya's eyes. He clenched his teeth and took out the Qilin tree. "If you give me the true dragon heart blood, I can give you the Qilin tree." Emochinya was extremely confident. He thought that Ningyu would definitely fall for it. After all, the Qilin tree could bear Qilin fruits, and this was a fatal temptation to immortal spirit realm cultivators. "Do you think I'm an idiot?" Ningyu curled his lips and said with disdain, "Although the Qilin tree can bear Qilin fruits, without a Qilin corpse, how am I supposed to raise it?" "You can't say that. In this world, apart from the Qilin's corpse, there is another thing that can help the Qilin tree survive," Emo Qinya said with a mysterious expression, "the world tree. As long as you can find the world tree and use its liquid, you can speed up the growth of the Qilin tree and shorten the time it takes for the Qilin fruit to ripen." Hearing this, Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. In the eyes of outsiders, using the world tree's liquid to nurture the Qilin tree was extravagant and impossible. But in Ningyu's eyes it was very easy. He had the world tree, and it had taken human form. Once he obtained the Qilin tree, he would only need a few drops of Ninglu's blood to successfully nurture the Qilin tree and speed up the ripening of the Qilin fruit. One Qilin tree and one Qilin fruit. At this point, Ningyu pondered for a moment and then said, "In exchange for the true dragon heart blood in my hands, you've made a profit. Deal." As soon as Ningyu's voice fell, Emo Qinya said in a low voice, "I'll count to 3. I'll give you the Qilin tree and the Qilin fruit, but you have to give me the true dragon heart blood." Then, ignoring Ningyu's reaction, Emo Qinya immediately began to count. 1. When Emo Qinya spat out the word 1, Ningyu's expression was a little exaggerated. "What kind of person is this? I haven't even said a word, and you're already counting to yourself." 2. When Emo Qinya said 2, Ningyu couldn't help but look at the little Qilin in the air. The little Qilin's action made Ningyu's heart go cold. The little Qilin shook its head lightly, its expression full of unwillingness. Afterward, Ningyu shifted his gaze to the human demon. The human demon's reaction wasn't much different from the little Qilin's. At this point, Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom. In truth, Ningyu wasn't worried that Emo Qinya would suddenly attack him. Ningyu was worried that Emo Qinya would fly into a rage after discovering that he hadn't given him the true dragon heart blood. 3. At this time, Emo Qinya spat out the word 3. With a wave of his hands, Emo Qinya threw the Qilin tree and the Qilin fruit at Ningyu. Swish! Seeing that Emo Qinya hadn't gone back on his word, Ningyu gritted his teeth and threw the jade bottle in his hand. At this point, Ningyu knew that if he didn't hand over the true dragon heart blood to Emo Qinya, the latter would definitely attack him. If he handed over the true dragon heart blood, there was still a chance that Emo Qinya would immediately flee with the true dragon heart blood. Gamble! Ningyu was gambling. Ah! The next moment, Emo Qinya threw his head back and laughed wildly. He controlled the Qilin tree and Qilin fruit to fly back the way they came. Cheating! Emo Qinya was obviously cheating. "Brat, I'll give you a lesson today and let you know what reality is." Emo Qinya reached out with both hands, grabbing the Qilin tree and Qilin fruit with his left and the jade bottle Ningyu had thrown at him with his right. At the same time, Emo Qinya's feet were moving rapidly. It was obvious that he was ready to retreat as soon as he grabbed the jade bottle. 3 minutes were about to pass. If he didn't leave now, he might never be able to leave. Emo Qinya wasn't a fool. He naturally knew what to do. Phew! Emo Qinya's actions caused Ningyu to let out a long sigh. As long as Emo Qinya left, everything was fine. A drop of true dragon heart blood for a few lives. No matter how he looked at it, Ningyu had profited. "Come here." But at this time, a sudden change occurred. The tower of Yuzuan on Ningyu's body suddenly shook. Then, a figure shot out from the tower of Yuzuan. A golden-haired little girl. The one who came out of the tower of Yuzuan was not a human, but a golden-haired little girl. After coming out, the golden-haired little girl opened her mouth wide and a terrifying suction force erupted from it. Whoosh! 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 This suction force was abnormally terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the Qilin tree, Qilin fruit, and jade bottle were sucked over. Pa pa pa! The golden-haired little girl didn't even look at these things. She lightly patted the Qilin tree and Qilin fruit and threw them to Ningyu. Chapter 1706. Planar Barrier Rumble. As soon as the golden-haired girl rode on the little Qilin, the Qilin projection above the little Qilin merged with it. After merging with the Qilin projection, the little Qilin's aura soared at a speed visible to the naked eye. Early stage sage, mid-stage sage, late-stage sage. Bang! With a muffled sound, the little Qilin's aura soared to the limit of the immortal spirit realm. Perfect stage sage. Not good. Emo Qianya's expression changed drastically when he felt the terrifying aura emanating from the little Qilin. He hurriedly turned his head and wanted to leave this area. If he had left before the little Qilin's aura soared, he would have been able to leave smoothly. But now it would be very difficult for him to leave smoothly. Swoosh! The little Qilin charged at Emo Qianya furiously. Smack! It raised its tail and whipped Emo Qianya's back fiercely. The burning sensation from his back made Emo Qianya grimace in pain. Where there's life, there's hope. Just you wait, I'll be back sooner or later. Emo Qianya glared fiercely at the little Qilin and Ningyu. Then, he burned his blood essence and tore open the void to quickly enter. Want to leave? Not so easy. Seeing that Emo Qianya wanted to leave, the golden-haired girl clenched her fists and said coldly, "No one can save you from becoming enemies with the Qilin clan." The little Qilin was even more furious than the golden-haired girl. With a loud roar, a terrifying shockwave shot out and followed Emo Qianya into the void. It didn't take long. Emo Qianya fell from the void. Crack, crack, crack. Emo Qianya's eyes became extremely gloomy. He gritted his teeth and said, "The Qilin clan has been scattered. It won't be so easy to kill me with a wisp of Qilin's will. I'll leave this place even if I have to be seriously injured." Bang! Bang! Emo Qianya kept hitting his chest with both hands. He seemed to have gone mad. Although Emo Qianya's body was already seriously injured, his aura was still rising rapidly. Oh no, he's going to display an aura surpassing perfect stage sage. This action caused Ningyu and the human demon's expressions to shift drastically. This was the immortal spirit realm. Once Emo Qianya unleashed his aura that surpassed the sage perfection stage, the entire immortal spirit realm would be destroyed. Since Emo Qianya dared to do this, it meant that he definitely had a way to leave the immortal spirit domain. Emo Qianya had a way to leave the immortal spirit domain, but Ningyu, the human demon, and even the golden-haired girl and little Qilin had no way to leave the immortal spirit domain. As long as the plane barrier of the immortal spirit realm locked onto the Qilin cave, Ningyu and the others would have to leave this place in the shortest time possible. Otherwise, they would definitely die. Ha ha ha! All of you must die. Emo Qianya laughed wildly after seeing Ningyu and the human demon's flustered expressions. All of you come out. Emo Qianya laughed wildly as he unleashed his aura without holding anything back. Shio! Emo Qianya had just unleashed his aura when the immortal spirit realm's plane barrier locked onto this place. At the same time, a terrifying pillar of light shot down from the heavens towards the Qilin cave. I'm not going to play with you guys anymore. Emo Qianya's lips curled up. Then, a strand of his primordial spirit separated from his body and tore through the void. The primordial spirit had escaped. In order to live, Emo Qianya didn't hesitate to abandon his body. Of course, when he abandoned his body, Emo Qianya also abandoned the last 3 Qilin fruit. What's going on? The immortal spirit realm's plane barrier made all the martial practitioners above the peak sky supreme level feel their hearts tremble. This trembling came from the depths of their hearts. Martial practitioners above the peak sky supreme level could completely feel the existence of the plane barrier. They knew very well that the plane barrier of the immortal spirit realm had 2 uses. First, it stopped the martial practitioners from the higher planes from descending. Second, it killed all the martial practitioners who surpassed the sage realm. Either of these 2 scenarios was enough to shake an immortal spirit realm expert. Now that the demon spirit realm was attacking the immortal spirit realm, If the martial practitioners from the higher planes descended at this time, it would be even worse for the immortal spirit realm. As for killing the martial practitioners who surpassed the sage realm, that was even more terrifying. When a martial practitioner who surpassed the sage realm unleashed a powerful attack right before their death, it could even destroy the entire immortal spirit realm. At this moment, almost all the strongest martial practitioners in the immortal spirit realm turned their gazes towards the Moling mountain range, towards the Qilin cave. What happened? In Giant Shield City, which was very close to the Moling mountain range, Elder Tianji's brows furrowed into a crescent shape. For some reason, no matter how much he tried, he couldn't divine what was going on. Try again. Elder Tianji gritted his teeth and tried again. But Elder Tianji's second attempt still ended in failure. Risking his life to divine in the end, this was the first time in the last few decades that Elder Tianji had failed. Master. Zhou Shun immediately helped Elder Tianji to sit on a chair and said with concern, "Please don't divine anymore. I know what I'm doing." Elder Tianji waved his hand and said, "Go out, I want to be alone for a while." Yes. Zhou Shun nodded, then moved his feet and left the room. However, when Zhou Shun left, his eyes revealed a sinister look. "Old fart, I've followed you for so long, but you still haven't taught me the divination art. I'll give you 3 more days. If you don't teach me the divination art after 3 days, don't blame me for being rude." Zhou Shun clenched his fists and turned to walk towards the Giant Shield City Lord's residence. Moling Mountain Range, Qilin Cave. Ning Yu and the human demon's expressions were extremely cold, extremely cold. Emo Qinya had left. What should they do? The scene became very gloomy. Hide in the Qilin ring. The golden-haired girl on the little Qilin's back suddenly broke the silence. The Qilin ring is the ultimate treasure of the Qilin race. It might be able to withstand the impact of the planar barrier. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go in. The human demon didn't waste time. He leaped into the air and turned into a blur, the first to enter the Qilin ring. Swoosh! Swoosh! Ningyu, the golden-haired girl, and the little Qilin moved at the same time and entered the Qilin ring. Rumble! As soon as the 3 of them entered the Qilin ring, a terrifying pillar of light exploded from the planar barrier above the Qilin cave and slammed into it. Whoosh! The terrifying pillar of light almost caused the Qilin cave to collapse in an instant. Everything that came into contact with the pillar of light turned to dust. With the Qilin cave as the center, all the vegetation in the surroundings was uprooted. Moreover, the terrifying shockwave continued to spread. Chapter 1707. Tremor. Whoosh! The terrifying shockwave from the dimensional barrier not only made Ning Yu and the human demon's scalps go numb, but even all the beasts in the Moling mountain range trembled from the depths of their hearts. Who was the strongest in the celestial spirit realm? Martial practitioners below the peak sky supreme level would probably think that sages were the strongest. But to those who had reached the peak sky supreme level or even surpassed it, the strongest being in a lower realm like the celestial spirit realm was not the sages, but the dimensional barrier. As long as you were in the celestial spirit realm, not to mention sages, even existences that surpassed sages were not as strong as the dimensional barrier. Ning Yu and the human demon hid in the Qilin ring, but all the beasts in the Moling mountain range were not so lucky. The dimensional barrier had almost never failed to destroy something in a lower realm like the celestial spirit realm. So all the beasts in the Moling mountain range fled with all their might, wanting to leave the Moling mountain range before the shockwave spread. It was a good idea, but the result was exceptionally cruel. Ah! Isn't the Moling mountain range a forbidden area? What kind of terrifying existence did we offend? Everyone, hurry up and run. If we're any later, we might all die here. Run? Run my ass. Such a terrifying shockwave, even a sage. The last beast in the air had not even finished speaking when it spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Its body had been split into two by the powerful shockwave. After the shockwave killed the demonic beast, it did not stop at all. Instead, it spread out in all directions at a terrifying speed. All sorts of shouts, angry voices, and uneasy voices rose and fell in the Moling mountain range. But these shouts did not last for long before they dissipated. Evidently, the terrifying shockwave from the dimensional barrier had left as quickly as it had come. When the dimensional barrier realized that it had killed Emo Chinya, it ceased all banners and disappeared. Although the dimensional barrier had disappeared, the entire upper echelons of the celestial spirit realm were still trembling. This situation lasted for a few hours before it returned to normal. Investigate. Investigate at all costs. The most furious person in the entire celestial spirit region was the current palace lord of Emperor God Palace. The current palace master of Emperor God Palace wasn't very old, but his face was extremely cold. The palace master of Emperor Divine Palace was called Di Shao. He had just come out of an extremely mysterious cultivation place 3 days ago. Di Zhao's current cultivation was at the half-step saint realm. However, even in the Emperor Divine Palace, there were less than 5 people who knew Di Zhao's true cultivation. As for the fact that the Emperor Divine Palace had a sacred grade essence crystal mine in the Moling mountain range, as well as the existence of the one-armed man, a semi-sage realm old ancestor, almost none of the Emperor Divine Palace's warriors knew about this. Wait! Di Shao abruptly stood up from his chair, gently pressed his right hand down, and said in a deep voice, "I'll go personally. While I'm not here, you only have one task, and that is to properly entertain the messengers of the demon spirit realm. Remember, do not neglect them." Whoosh! As his voice faded, Di Shao tore open the void with both of his hands and went straight in. Buzz! Not long after Di Shao disappeared, a slight fluctuation appeared in the void of the entire area. This fluctuation was very weak, obviously appearing from those who had a deep understanding of space. Obviously, the Emperor Divine Palace still had a group of experts who had a deep understanding of space. In a life-and-death battle between warriors of the same cultivation, the warrior who had a deeper understanding of space would have a much higher chance of winning. Only Di Shao knew about the existence of this group of warriors, because all of these people were brought here by Di Shao from his training site. Whoosh! At the same time, Moling Mountain Range, in the area where the Qilin Cave was located. To be precise, it should be above the ruins where the Qilin Cave was located. In a huge pit, a cold light suddenly rushed out from the bottom. The speed of the cold light was very fast. Almost in the blink of an eye, it rushed out of the hundreds of feet deep pit. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, a few figures flew out from the cold light. These figures were none other than Ningyu, Human Demon, and the others. Whoosh! After coming out, Ningyu first looked around, then couldn't help but let out a long sigh. Although Ningyu's cultivation had not reached the peak of the Sky Supreme level, he knew about the existence of the plane barrier. To be able to survive the impact of the plane barrier, it had to be said that Ningyu and the others were probably the first people in the immortal spirit realm to survive. But no one wanted to be the first, because if they were not careful, they might be targeted by the plane barrier. As long as one was in the immortal spirit realm, even a sage would not want to be targeted by the plane barrier. Luckily, there is no problem with the Qilin ring. The little Qilin looked at the ring on the golden-haired little girl's finger, and revealed a relieved expression. The Qilin ring was the most precious treasure of the Qilin clan. If it was destroyed by the little Qilin would definitely feel bad. Ningyu, the 4 Qilin fruits and the Qilin tree, I'm handing them all to you. The little Qilin took a deep breath and turned around to look at Ningyu. I've said it before, as long as you're willing to help me break the formation, I'll give you a great fortune. Now, it's time to fulfill my promise. Hearing the little Qilin's words, Human demon could still keep his cool, but Ningyu revealed an excited expression. Ningyu was now a peak 9th grade Earth Supreme. If he could receive the little Qilin's blessing, then wouldn't it be a matter of time before he became a Sky Supreme? No matter how weak the little Qilin was, its cultivation was still at the initial stage of the Sage Realm. To receive the blessing of an initial stage Sage Qilin was the dream of many cultivators. Ignoring Ningyu's expectant expression, the little Qilin threw 4 drops of blood to Ningyu. Of these 4 drops of blood, 2 are the Qilin's heart blood, and 2 are the Qilin's innate blood. Divide the 2 drops of Qilin's heart blood into 4 portions and place them into the 4 Qilin fruit. After that, you can devour and refine the Qilin fruit. As for the 2 drops of Qilin's innate blood, unless it's absolutely necessary, I advise you not to use them. Every drop of Qilin's innate blood can save your life. After speaking, the little Qilin brought the golden-haired little girl into Ningyu's Yuzuan pagoda. Gulp! The moment the little Qilin disappeared, Human Demon couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. In fact, the Human Demon even pinched his own thigh. Only when a pained expression appeared on his face did Human Demon stop. Qilin's heart blood, Qilin's innate blood, and 4 Qilin fruit. This opportunity was truly irresistible to the Human Demon. Looking at Ningyu, the Human Demon couldn't help getting more excited. Ningyu was truly his lucky star. First, it was the 2 drops of true dragon's blood, and now it was the Qilin's innate blood. Chapter 1708. Kill. The Human Demon was still heavily injured and had yet to recover from the aftereffects of using his trump card. This matter was originally the Human Demon's greatest concern. After all, the Human Demon still needed to find enough energy before the next energy seal broke. But now that he had the Qilin heart blood, Qilin blood, and Qilin fruit, this matter would vanish into thin air. Even a mature Qilin fruit or a drop of Qilin heart blood could restore the Human Demon to his peak state. Of course, due to the suppression of the energy seal, even if the Human Demon recovered to his peak state, his cultivation would only be equivalent to an early sage. His battle prowess would only be on par with a peak early sage. As for the Human Demon's trump card that allowed him to unleash the battle prowess of a perfect sage, he wouldn't be able to use it for the next 3 days. With the Qilin heart blood and Qilin life blood, the Human Demon didn't really care whether or not he could use his trump card. The Human Demon looked at Ningyu, then at the Qilin fruit and Qilin blood floating in the air. He clenched his teeth and said, "Ningyu, I don't want the Qilin tree, but I want 1 Qilin fruit and a drop of Qilin life blood." The Human Demon paid close attention to Ningyu's expression as he said this. If Ningyu didn't agree, the Human Demon could reduce his demands at any time. After all, the Human Demon was heavily injured, and Ningyu still had the little Qilin and the terrifying golden-haired girl. The Human Demon didn't want to be enemies with Ningyu. Senior must be joking. These things are the little Qilin's gift to us. We should divide them equally. Ningyu smiled and flicked his wrist, tossing the 2 Qilin fruits, the Qilin tree, a drop of Qilin heart blood, and a drop of Qilin life blood to the Human Demon. Although Ningyu and the Human Demon were using each other. Back at the Saint Grade Crystal Mine, without the Human Demon's help, Ningyu might have already been killed by the embroidered-robed cultivators. Know how to repay kindness. If others are good to me, I'll be good to them. This was Ningyu's code of conduct. All right, since that's the case, I won't be unreasonable. After being with Ningyu for so long, Human Demon had already figured out Ningyu's personality. The Human Devil didn't exchange any more pleasantries with Ningyu. He accepted the 2 Qilin fruits, a drop of Qilin heart blood, and a drop of Qilin life blood. As for the Qilin tree, the Human Devil didn't want it. After all, in order to nurture a Qilin tree, one would need either a Qilin corpse or a world tree. Human Devils didn't have these 2 things, so the Qilin tree was useless to him. Although he knew that the Human Demon didn't want the Qilin tree, when the Human Demon returned the Qilin tree to him, Ningyu still felt a little excited. The human demons couldn't nurture the world tree, but he could. As long as Ning Lu dripped a few drops of his blood on the Qilin tree every once in a while, it would provide enough nourishment for the Qilin tree. After all, although the Qilin tree was precious, it paled in comparison to the world tree. Ning Lu isn't easy to fool. Thinking of that mischievous Ning Lu, Ningyu suddenly felt a headache coming on. If he wanted Ning Lu to willingly provide his blood, Ningyu would probably have to spend a lot of money first. In Ningyu's opinion, if he wanted to convince Ning Lu, he would need at least a Qilin fruit or a drop of true dragon blood. Forget it, we'll talk about it when the time comes. Ningyu shook his head, then put away the Qilin fruit and Qilin heart blood. Ningyu wasn't as crazy as the human demon. After taking the Qilin fruit, the human demon split a drop of Qilin heart blood into two and inserted one into the Qilin fruit. Following that, the human demon swallowed one of the Qilin fruits right in front of Ningyu. After swallowing the Qilin fruit, the human demon sat down cross-legged and began to use a technique to refine and absorb the energy. Although the energy pressure was temporarily gone, the human demon wasn't satisfied. He wanted to use the Qilin fruit to recover his strength to its peak, then make a trip to the Pill Creation Continent's Alchemy Union. The human demon's plan was very simple. He wanted to find a way to break the energy seal in his body while he was still in the immortal spirit realm. Only by breaking the energy seal in his body could the human demon have a chance to enter the higher realm he was originally from and find the person who had framed him. The human demon didn't tell Ningyu about this. He just kept it to himself. After all, from the human demon's point of view, even if Ningyu knew, he definitely wouldn't be able to help. After all, the person who framed him was an extremely terrifying existence even in the higher realms. Ningyu was only an immortal spirit realm cultivator. Wasn't it asking him to make an enemy out of a higher realm cultivator? Ningyu didn't know what the human demon was thinking. After accepting the Qilin fruit, he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to use a technique to recuperate. Right now, Ningyu's plan was very simple. He would first adjust his mental state to its peak, then swallow the Qilin fruit and strive to break through to the Sky Supreme Realm. Actually, Ningyu had considered one thing. This place had just been bombarded by the planar barrier. It was very likely that it would attract the attention of other factions and send experts over. But when Ningyu saw the human demon's extremely natural expression, he immediately dispelled his worries. Even the human demon wasn't worried, so what was there for him to worry about? He would deal with the situation as it came. Even if high-level experts came, the human demon would be there to hold them off. Even if the human demon couldn't hold them off, there was still the little Qilin in the Tower of the Ascension of You. As the saying went, even if the sky collapsed, there was still a tall person to watch over it. Ningyu's current state of mind was pretty much the same. However, Ningyu didn't completely pin his hopes on the human demon and the little Qilin. As he recuperated, he spread out his perception, paying close attention to the surroundings. If there was even the slightest sign of trouble, Ningyu would immediately inform the human demon. Recuperating was always boring. In order to adjust his mental state to its peak, Ningyu spent a full 2 hours. In these 2 hours, the human demon had already completely refined the Qilin fruit. After refining the Qilin fruit, the human demon was clearly more excited. A fully matured Qilin fruit could allow a sage-level cultivator to unconditionally ascend an entire level. Although the human demon was an existence that surpassed sages in the higher planes, and his body was suppressed by the energy seal, the benefits that a single Qilin fruit could bring to the human demon was still terrifying. The strength that the human demon could display now was equivalent to a mid-sage. Moreover, the human demon could feel that the energy seal in his body had weakened a little. The Qilin fruit could suppress the energy seal. The human demon almost jumped up in surprise when he heard this news. If the Qilin fruit could suppress the energy seal, then why not use the remaining Qilin fruit? Not good. The human demon's expression suddenly changed as he thought of this. Who's sneaking around? Hurry up and show yourself! The human demon roared as he looked into the distance. As the human demon roared, the space he was staring at began to tremble. Chapter 1709. Rage. If you dare to touch Ningyu, I'll definitely kill you. The human demon couldn't help cursing when he saw the figure charging towards Ningyu. At this moment, the human demon even regretted his actions. Right from the start, the human demon had already noticed a cultivator hiding in the surrounding space. Since the cultivator's aura was weak, the human demon didn't pay any attention to it. The reason why the human demon didn't pay any attention to it was because he thought that he could stop someone even if they suddenly attacked. But who could have imagined that the cultivator hiding in the void had reached the half-saint realm? In fact, the human demon still didn't put a half-saint realm cultivator in his eyes. After all, after devouring the Qilin fruit, the human demon's strength had reached the middle saint realm. If a middle saint realm cultivator wanted to deal with a half-saint realm cultivator, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. But now, the human demon was extremely vexed to the extreme. The human demon had always thought that he was the half-saint's target. Even if the half-saint wanted to launch a sneak attack, he would be the target. Who would have thought that the half-saint would change his target at the last moment and shift his target to Ningyu? Ningyu's cultivation was only at the pinnacle 9th grade Earth Sovereign Realm. He hadn't even reached the Heavenly Sovereign Realm. The outcome of a cultivator with such a cultivation against a half-saint was practically predictable. I'll kill you, then slaughter my way to your sect and eradicate them all. In order to intimidate the half-saint, the human demon unleashed his middle saint realm aura as he roared and frantically pressed towards the half-saint. The human demon's plan was simple. He wanted to intimidate the half-saint so that the half-saint wouldn't dare to act recklessly against Ningyu. If he could only intimidate the half-saint, then the human demon's goal would be achieved. As Di Xiao charged towards Ningyu, he was having an intense battle in his heart. On one hand, he knew that the human demon was a middle saint realm cultivator. If he made an enemy of the human demon, it would mean that he had made a terrifying enemy for the Emperor Palace. But on the other hand, he really wanted to kill Ningyu, because Di Xiao sensed Mu Yunshan and Ning Hai's aura from Ningyu. For so many years, Di Xiao had been sending experts to search for Ning Hai. Di Xiao had been brooding over Mu Yunshan breaking off the engagement. Di Xiao had a special characteristic. If he couldn't get his hands on something, he would definitely destroy it. Therefore, after Mu Yunshan rejected the marriage with him, he tried every possible way to take revenge. Although Mu Yunshan wasn't particularly favored in the Supreme Nine Purities Temple because of this incident, Di Xiao was still rather fearful of the Colossus that was the Supreme Nine Purities Temple. Di Xiao was afraid of the Supreme Nine Purities Temple, but it did not mean that he was afraid of Ning Hai. Di Xiao had issued many orders. As long as they found Ning Hai, they would be killed without mercy. Now that he sensed Mu Yunshan and Ning Hai's aura from Ningyu, Di Xiao instantly concluded that Ningyu was the little bastard in his heart. Therefore, even at the risk of being targeted by the human demon, a middle-stage sage warrior, Di Xiao still resolutely attacked Ningyu. He wanted to kill Ningyu here and now. Kill! Di Xiao, who was in a state of madness, completely ignored the human demon's warning and pressure. He shouted in a low voice. Then, the blue veins on his right arm bulged, and he fiercely smashed towards Ningyu's head. Di Xiao's goal was very clear. He wanted to smash Ningyu's head with one punch. Only by killing Ningyu could Di Xiao relieve the hatred in his heart. After I kill you, I'll go find your father. Little bastard, you're lucky to die in my hands. Di Xiao's face was ferocious, as if success was right in front of him. Real dragon blood. At this critical moment, Ningyu's heart jumped, and he hurriedly swallowed the last drop of real dragon blood. Bang! Fortunately, Ningyu had experienced the tempering of 2 drops of real dragon blood, which allowed him to swallow and refine the blood at an extremely fast speed. Almost in an instant, the drop of real dragon blood was refined by Ningyu. Of course, it wasn't a complete refinement. At best, it was only half of it. But that 50% had allowed Ningyu's aura to rise from the pinnacle 9th grade Earth Sovereign Realm to the pinnacle Heavenly Sovereign Realm, just a step away from the Quasi-Saint Realm. Last time, Ningyu had swallowed 2 drops of real dragon blood, and his cultivation had risen from peak 5th grade Earth Supreme to peak Sky Supreme. This time, Ningyu had only swallowed 1 drop of real dragon blood, and his cultivation had risen to peak Sky Supreme. The reason was that Ningyu's physique had become much stronger after the tempering of 2 drops of real dragon blood. Moreover, he had also refined half of the real dragon blood. Yin Yang Palm. Ningyu didn't feel excited because of the increase in his aura. Instead, his face became extremely solemn. Swinging his right hand, the dark gold blood from his heart flowed through his entire body. Ningyu's fist brought along a violent yuan qi gale, and it collided with Dijiao's fist. Crack! The 2 fists collided and an extremely crisp sound rang out. Swish! Swish! Then, the 2 figures retreated at a terrifying speed. Ningyu retreated because his internal organs had been shaken by the huge force, and he had no choice but to retreat. As for Dijiao's retreat, it was because of the human demon. The human demon had allowed Di Xiao to punch Ningyu once, and that was already a huge mistake. How could he allow Di Xiao to attack a second time? Di Xiao wasn't a fool. He had already thought of a way out. He could kill Ningyu with 1 move, and then use his trump card to retreat. But now, it seemed that one of the 2 things in Di Xiao's mind was destined to fail. Di Xiao's move could only seriously injure Ningyu, but not kill Ningyu. As for the second thing in Di Xiao's mind, using his trump card to retreat, it seemed to be a little difficult. The human demon's powerful aura had already locked onto him, and was constantly chasing him. Looking at the human demon's momentum, he would not stop until he caught up with him. Ningyu, just you wait, Di Xiao will never let you go. Although it was a little difficult for him to escape, Di Xiao still didn't forget to threaten Ningyu. Di Xiao. Hearing Di Xiao's words, Ningyu slightly frowned, and began to rummage through his memories. So it's him. In just a moment, Ningyu knew Di Xiao's identity. The current Palace Master of Divine Emperor Palace. Ningyu didn't know much about Di Xiao. He only knew that Di Xiao was the Palace Master of Divine Emperor Palace, had the cultivation of a half-step saint, and had gone to a mysterious place to cultivate for a period of time. However, Ningyu also knew the relationship between Di Xiao and his family. He had already thoroughly understood the situation of his parent. It was because of Di Xiao that he couldn't reunite with his parents. Crack crack. Clenching his fists, Ningyu's face became extremely ugly. In the past, he didn't have the strength, and under the strong pressure of Divine Emperor Palace, he could only escape. But now, he had already established Supreme Palace. There were quite a few branch palaces inside, and there were quite a few powerful martial artists. Although the low-level strength couldn't compete with Divine Emperor Palace, the high-end combat power was enough to compete with Divine Emperor Palace. Chapter 1710. Project Launch. However, even if Ningyu wanted to kill his way to the Emperor Divine Palace, he had to plan carefully. Supreme Palace had just been established not long ago. Ningyu did not want to destroy Supreme Palace's foundation in the first battle. Actually, Ningyu's original intention was to have Supreme Palace's first battle at the Jin family. After all, the Kim clan had been looking for trouble with him again and again. It was imperative to eradicate the Kim clan. Thinking of this, Ningyu fell into a dilemma. Whoosh! At this moment, the human devil turned into a blur and flew over from afar. You didn't catch up? When Ningyu saw the human demon, he was slightly stunned, feeling a little strange. Di Xiao was only a half-step saint, while the human devil could display the fighting strength of a middle-stage saint. The difference between the two was like heaven and earth. There was no reason for the human demon to be unable to catch up to Di Xiao. But this kind of situation actually happened, which made Ningyu so surprised that his jaw almost dropped. Don't mention it. I don't know where that guy called Di Xiao found an advanced teleportation scroll, but he ran away faster than a dog. Ningyu's astonished expression made the human demon feel a little embarrassed. To be honest, human demon himself was very surprised that Di Xiao had the teleportation scroll. Although ordinary low-level instant movement scrolls could also teleport, the movement effect would definitely not be that crazy. After all, the teleportation scroll taken out by Emperor Shao was something that even human devil, a warrior at the middle stage of the Saint Realm, could not cut off from the space. Oh right, you seem to know Di Xiao? Human demon didn't want to talk too much about why he didn't get Di Xiao, so he quickly changed the topic to Di Xiao. To be precise, the human demon wanted to find Di Xiao through Ningyu. As long as he knew where Di Xiao's lair was, he could kill his way there and get rid of Di Xiao. The human devil didn't believe that Emperor Shao had that many high-grade teleportation scrolls. After all, teleportation scrolls were extremely precious items. Even in high-grade planes, they were considered luxuries. Moreover, the human demon could now display the battle prowess of a mid-stage saint. According to the human demon's estimation, as long as he refined the last Qilin fruit, his cultivation would definitely reach the peak of mid-stage saint. At that time, even if Di Xiao had a backer, he would still be able to kill him without any scruples. Not really. Di Xiao is the palace master of Emperor God Palace. Ningyu knew that the human devil was very angry, but he didn't tell him about the conflict between him and Di Xiao. He simply introduced Di Xiao to the human devil and told him everything he knew. He's just a palace master of Emperor Palace. How dare he kill you in front of me? He must be tired of living. The demonic human's temper flared, and he said angrily, "Let's part ways here. 1 month from now, we will meet at the Alchemy Union in the Danqing mainland." With that, the human devil stomped his feet on the ground, wanting to leave. "Senior, how could Ningyu not know what the human devil wanted to do?" At this moment, even if Ningyu was a pig, he could guess the human devil's intentions. Kill his way to Emperor God Palace and kill Di Xiao with his own hands. In fact, there is a great hatred between me and Di Xiao. After thinking about it, Ningyu felt that it was better to tell the human devil about his relationship with Di Xiao. After all, in Ningyu's opinion, Di Xiao had come for him this time, and it had nothing to do with the human devil. If the human devil and Di Xiao became enemies with Emperor God Palace because of him, he wouldn't be able to live with it. Next, Ningyu told the human devil everything about the hatred between him and Di Xiao. Damn it, how can there be such a shameless person in the world? After listening to Ningyu's story, the human devil couldn't help but curse. When the human devil was in a high-level plane, he had been framed and his family was separated. Therefore, he hated people like Di Xiao very much. Don't worry about this. Anyway, I'm going to kill my way to Emperor God Palace and take Di Xiao's head. The human devil's expression was extremely angry, and his face looked a little ferocious. "Senior, I know you're doing this for my own good, but I think this matter should be considered at length," Ningyu said. "There's no need for that. Let's go to Emperor God Palace now." The human devil's attitude was tough, and he didn't give Ningyu any chance to persuade him. Ningyu knew that since the human devil was determined to go to Emperor God Palace, he couldn't stop him. In this situation, he could only try to get rid of all obstacles. Ningyu was a little worried about killing his way to Emperor God Palace. First, Di Xiao dared to attack him even after knowing that the human devil was a middle-stage Sage Realm warrior. This meant that he had a way to deal with the human devil's revenge. Second, which was also what Ningyu was most concerned about, a way out. Ningyu could simply kill his way to Emperor God Palace. But the result was that he was doomed. There was no way out. The way out that Ningyu was talking about was not himself, but Supreme Palace, Lu Wei, the Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, and the others. The Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, and the others were already tied to the same rope as Ningyu. They were bound together for good or ill. Ningyu didn't want to rashly kill his way to Emperor God Palace, only to be captured by Di Shao and then used to threaten the Dark Emperor and the others. The human devil didn't need to think about these things, but Ningyu had to. Since he had established a force, Ningyu had to consider more things. He wouldn't do anything that was 100% risky. After thinking about it, Ningyu said to the human devil, "Senior, I won't stop you from killing your way to Emperor God Palace, but I have a condition. Before your cultivation reaches the middle stage sage realm, it's better not to go there." "I promise you." Human Demon agreed to Ningyu's request without a second thought. In fact, the human devil even leaped into the huge pit and dove into it. He first set up a camouflage on the pit, then took out the second Qilin fruit and swallowed it. The camouflage was to avoid unnecessary trouble. Crack! As soon as the Qilin fruit entered his mouth, the human devil immediately used a spell to refine it. The human devil knew very well that the Qilin fruit had a suppressive effect on the energy seal in his body. The first Qilin fruit had restored his cultivation from the early stage sage realm to the middle stage sage realm. The human devil was very confident that after refining the second Qilin fruit, his cultivation would return to the middle stage sage realm. As for whether he could recover to the late stage sage realm, the human devil didn't have any expectations at all. After all, the human devil knew very well that as long as the energy seal in his body wasn't resolved, his cultivation wouldn't be able to recover to the late stage sage realm. Fortunately, the human demon was very clear about this point, because he still had a trump card. Once he used it, he could instantly display the combat power of a sage in the great perfection. However, he couldn't use that trump card for the next 3 days. True dragon blood. While the human devil was refining the Qilin fruit, Ningyu also sat cross-legged beside the human devil and used the spirit transformation art to refine the remaining true dragon blood in his body. Although Ningyu had devoured and refined half of the true dragon blood, there was still half left in his body. Chapter 17:11. Bam! 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 Due to the experience of tempering his body with the true dragon's blood, Ningyu's speed of refining the true dragon's blood was not particularly slow. Ningyu circulated the spirit form art with all his might while using his soul force and the bewitching lotus flame to help. Ningyu was well aware of his current situation. It wouldn't be long before the human demon completely refined the second Qilin fruit and recovered his strength to peak mid-stage sage realm. What Ningyu needed to do was refine the remaining true dragon blood in his body before the human demon completely refined the second Qilin fruit. Whoosh! With the help of the spirit form art, his soul force, and the bewitching lotus flame, Ningyu refined the true dragon blood in his body at a terrifying speed. Time passed quietly as Ningyu and the human demon cultivated. 3 hours passed in the blink of an eye. In these 3 hours, at least a dozen powerful cultivators had arrived above the pit Ningyu and the human demon were in. Without a doubt, the cultivators' goal was clear: to find out why the planar barrier had attacked. But the result was disappointing. They searched the pit for a long time, but they couldn't find Ningyu or the human demon. 3 hours passed undisturbed. Ningyu and the human demon's cultivation came to an end. Boom! At this time, a terrifying aura burst from Ningyu's body. Sky Supreme. The energy contained in half a drop of true dragon blood was terrifying to the extreme. Just by refining it, Ningyu's cultivation had surpassed the half-step Sky Supreme realm and reached the early stage Sky Supreme realm. He really is a monster. The human demon couldn't help exclaiming when he sensed the aura coming from Ningyu. At the same time, the human demon probed Ning Yu's body. As soon as he did, the expression on the human devil's face grew even more intense. His soul force has reached early stage 9th rank? It was no wonder the human demon was surprised. In the higher planes, there were quite a few Sky Supremes at Ning Yu's age. However, it was extremely rare to find a Sky Supreme with a soul force at the initial 9th grade. Ning Yu was just a martial artist from a lower plane, yet he was able to accomplish this at such a young age. It was truly terrifying. Since you've almost recovered, let's set off for the Emperor Palace now. Although he was impressed by Ning Yu's monstrous talent, Human Demon did not forget what he was going to do next. Kill his way to Emperor Divine Palace and kill Di Shao with his own hands. Whoosh. Leaving these words, the human demon did not give Ning Yu a chance to refute. He pushed off the ground and rushed toward the periphery of the Moling mountain range. Ning Yu didn't think much of it and immediately followed. Ning Yu knew that he couldn't interfere with human demon's decision. Moreover, he had successfully advanced to early stage Sky Supreme and had the Qilin fruit and Qilin blood. Even if he encountered a peak Sky Supreme, he could fight head-on. In fact, if he used all his trump cards, he could even kill a pinnacle Sky Supreme. Di Shao was a half-step saint. Even if there were other sages in the Emperor Palace, Human Demon should have no problem dealing with them with his current strength. Ning Yu's task on this trip to the Emperor Palace might be relatively simple. Plunder. Plunder wantonly and empty the Emperor Palace as much as possible. Ning Yu had a more thorough understanding of this matter, so he naturally wouldn't stop Human Demon. Ning Yu was even a little excited about reaching the Emperor Palace as soon as possible. As for returning to Giant Shield City to meet up with the Dark Emperor and the others, Ning Yu didn't think it was particularly important. It could wait until he returned from the Emperor Palace. Wait! Ning Yu and Human Demon were very fast. They arrived at the periphery of the Moling mountain range almost in an instant. Since Ning Yu had advanced to early stage Sky Supreme, his flying speed was much faster. Moreover, Human Demon deliberately slowed down, so Ning Yu didn't fall behind. However, as soon as they left the Moling mountain range, Human Demon suddenly stopped in midair and said in a deep voice, "Hurry up and come out. Someone's here?" Hearing Human Demon's words and the solemn expression on Human Demon's face, Ning Yu's heart couldn't help but skip a beat. A cultivator that could make Human Demon so solemn must be a sage. If 8 or 10 sages appeared at this time, Human Demon would probably have a hard time worrying about him. Could it be that something bad had happened just after they left the Moling mountain range and had yet to reach the Emperor Palace? Swish. Swish. This time, Ning Yu obviously thought too much. Not long after Human Demon's voice fell, the void in front of them trembled, and then 2 figures slowly appeared from the void. Middle-aged man, silk-robed cultivator? At first, Ning Yu's heart was heavy, but when he saw the 2 figures in front of him, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. One was the master of the Moling mountain range, the silk-robed cultivator, and the other was the master of the Fire Qilin insect king, the middle-aged man. Ever since the planar barrier had struck the Qilin cave, Ning Yu had thought the 2 of them dead. Who would have thought they'd still be alive? Although the silk-robed cultivator and the middle-aged man weren't in a good state, describing them as struggling at death's door was already a compliment. However, the fact that they'd survived the planar barrier's attack was enough to prove their ability. One had to know that the reason Ning Yu and Human Demon had survived was all because of the Qilin ring. Did the silk-robed cultivator and the middle-aged man also have a trump card similar to the Qilin ring? "Why aren't you dead?" Human Demon asked Ning Yu's question. Human Demon's question was very direct. In the end, Human Demon even said coldly, "If you don't answer honestly, I don't mind loosening your muscles and bones." After the incident in the Qilin cave, Human Demon finally understood some things, and also thought through some things. Needless to say, the middle-aged man had a grudge against him. The silk-robed cultivator didn't hesitate to use immortal crystals to keep him here, so there was definitely something fishy going on. Moreover, the silk-robed cultivator was related to the Passionless Valley, so Human Demon definitely wouldn't let him go. The two of us didn't hesitate to burn our essence blood and use all our trump cards to barely block the planar barrier. The silk-robed cultivator and the middle-aged man looked at each other and said in unison. The two of them didn't want to tell Human Demon the truth. First of all, they were from a higher plane, and they'd come to the immortal spirit region for a certain mission. Since they'd come from a higher plane, there had to be a way back. This time, they'd been able to block the planar barrier's attack because they'd both taken out their treasures to return to the higher plane and work together to block the planar barrier's attack. The two of them had a plan in mind. Although the treasures they'd used to return to the higher plane had been broken into many pieces by the planar barrier, they still had some hope that one day they could repair the treasures and return to the higher plane. Because if they told Human Demon the truth, Human Demon would definitely take the broken treasures. Chapter 17:12. Chapter 17:12. Blood drops secondly with hope would there be motivation. Therefore, the cultivator and the middle-aged man lied at the same time. Since you won't tell the truth, there's no need for you to stay. The Human Demon frowned slightly. His figure flashed, his right hand clenched into a fist and punched at the middle-aged man's heart. The Human Demon's punch contained the strength of a peak mid-stage sage. The middle-aged man and the cultivator could lie to Ningyu, but they couldn't fool the Human Demon. The Human Demon knew that the middle-aged man and the cultivator came from a higher plane. There were two ways to return to a higher plane from the immortal spirit realm. The first was to communicate with the plane barrier and try to break the seal. Since the birth of the celestial spirit realm, only a few heavens had been able to do this. The second way was to sneak in. The so-called smuggling, as the name suggested, was to use certain magic treasures, secret techniques, and other things that could deceive the planar barrier to cross the sea, to steal the beam and replace the pillar. The middle-aged man and the cultivator definitely didn't have the ability to do the first way. The second way was the key to their return to a higher plane. However, the Human Demon didn't know whether they would use magic treasures or secret arts to return to a higher plane. If it was magic treasures, the Human Demon could snatch them. If it was secret arts, he could force them to tell him. In any case, he couldn't let the middle-aged man and the cultivator leave today. I'll talk. Seeing that the Human Demon's fist was about to land on his chest, the middle-aged man hurriedly shouted, "We were able to block the attack of the plane barrier mainly because of these." As he spoke, the middle-aged man took out 2 stones. Although they were 2 stones, anyone with a discerning eye could see that they were originally one, but had been split in half by some powerful external force. The 2 stones were each the size of a fist. The color of the stones was rather dim, giving off an extremely surreal feeling. There was even a drop of dark gold blood in the stone. Blood drop stone. This stone was called a blood drop stone. Every single blood drop stone contained a drop of dark golden blood. In the higher planes, some people said that the blood inside was the blood of a true dragon, some said it was the blood of a Qilin, and some said it was the blood of an immortal. The human devil didn't really care what kind of blood was in the blood drop stone. What Human Demon cared about was the middle-aged man's identity. In a high-level plane, there was a sect that specialized in mining blood drop stones. That sect was named the Blood Drop Sect after the blood drop stone. The Blood Droplet Sect and the Heartless Valley were both powerful forces in the higher planes. Although the overall strength of these two sects was about the same, the Blood Droplet Sect's way of doing things was more sinister, so the strength they displayed in the higher planes was more terrifying. "Are you from the Blood Drop Sect?" The Human Demon suddenly stopped and stared at the blood drop stone in the middle-aged man's hand. He said in a low voice, "Answer me truthfully." "I'm from the Blood Droplet Sect. I've come to the immortal spirit realm on the orders of an elder of the sect to find a Qilin. Seeing the human demon's serious expression, the middle-aged man's confidence rose for no reason. The blood drop sect's style of doing things was extremely ruthless. The middle-aged man believed that as long as a demonic human was a martial artist from a higher plane, he would definitely have heard of the blood drop sect. No one who offended the blood drop sect would have a good ending. Very well, I originally wanted to spare your life, but since you've admitted that you're from the blood drop sect, I can only send you to the next world. The human demon clenched his fists and started moving again. This time, the human demon didn't give the middle-aged man any chance. A fist brought with it a violent yuan qi gale as it ruthlessly smashed into the middle-aged man's heart. Qi. The human demon's fist directly pierced through the middle-aged man's heart. Because the human demon could now display the strength of a mid-stage sage, and the middle-aged man's strength had greatly decreased, the middle-aged man was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. After killing the middle-aged man, the human demon didn't forget to kill the middle-aged man's primordial spirit. The primordial spirit was a powerful martial artist's second life. Even if the physical body was destroyed, as long as the primordial spirit existed, it could be used to possess another martial artist. Now that the middle-aged man's primordial spirit was destroyed, it meant that he was dead. Crack! The moment the middle-aged man died. In a room of the blood drop sect in a higher plane. There were originally two martial artists in the room. One was a slightly older elder, and the other was a younger youth. At this moment, the slightly older elder suddenly stood up and slammed his fist on the table in front of him, shattering it. "I'm so angry!" The slightly older elder clenched his fists tightly, and the veins on his face bulged. He was furious to the extreme. "Elder Mu, what's going on?" the younger youth asked with a frown. "Things might be a little troublesome. The martial artist who helped me to the celestial spirit realm was killed." Although the elder was angry, his attitude towards the youth was rather respectful. After all, the youth was the most advantageous contender for the position of the next sect master in the blood drop sect. "You mean that there's no way to find the Qilin flesh?" Hearing the elder's words, the youth's face instantly turned cold. The Qilin flesh was the crux of the youth's cultivation for the next few years. With the Qilin flesh, the youth could use some secret technique to forcefully raise his cultivation by a level. As long as his cultivation could increase by a level, the youth had a high chance of fighting for the position of the blood drop sect's sect master. The elder was one of the people that the youth trusted the most in the blood drop sect, and he had entrusted the task of finding the Qilin flesh to the elder. Who would have thought that the elder would mess up the task? How could the youth not be angry? Although he was angry, the youth did not fly into a rage. After all, the elder's cultivation was not low, and he was a capable helper in the fight for the position of the sect master. He did not want to lose this powerful helper before he could become the sect master. "Leave this matter to me. I will definitely bring the Qilin flesh to the blood drop sect within the stipulated time," the elder called Elder Mu said solemnly. "I know the martial artist you sent to the celestial spirit realm. His strength is enough to do as he pleases in the celestial spirit realm. Even he failed, I'm afraid." The youth shook his head lightly and did not continue his sentence. There were some things that the youth would not finish, and he would let his subordinates speculate on their own. "I understand. I will personally make a trip to the celestial spirit realm and use one of my primordial spirit." How could Elder Mu not know what the youth meant? Originally, Elder Mu had wanted to send another martial artist to the celestial spirit realm so that he could cultivate properly and strive to improve further. Now, it seemed like he had to use one of his primordial spirits to head to the celestial spirit realm. It was for no other reason than to find the Qilin flesh and successfully bring it back to the blood drop sect. Chapter 1713. Chapter 1713. blood intertwining. The human demon didn't know what had happened in the blood drop sect. But even if he knew, he wouldn't pay too much attention to it. This was the immortal spirit realm, and there was a plane barrier here. Even if the blood drop sect sent experts over, their cultivation would be greatly suppressed. As long as the blood drop sect didn't send experts that surpassed the sage realm, the human demon wasn't afraid. You should have a blood drop stone on you. Hand it over. After casually killing the middle-aged man, the human demon turned to stare at the cultivator in embroidered clothes. You only have one chance. I hope you can grasp it. As he spoke, the human demon unleashed his powerful aura, suppressing the cultivator in embroidered robes. The reason why the human demon treated the embroidered-robed cultivator this way was not because he wanted to kill him, but because he wanted to scavenge the information he needed from him. The cultivator in embroidered clothes was from the Heartless Valley. Normally, a core disciple of a large sect like this would have a seal left behind by an expert of the sect. If someone tried to devour the memories of a core disciple, the seal would explode. Large sects all had many secrets. When it came to guarding against secrets, large sects were especially cunning. They wouldn't leave any flaws for their competitors. Here, I'll give it to you. Under the pressure of the human demon's powerful aura, the cultivator didn't even last a second. He hurriedly took out a blood drop stone and threw it to the human demon. Puff! The human demon stretched out his right hand and firmly caught the blood drop stone thrown by the brocade-robed man. The human demon frowned slightly after catching the blood drop stone. The blood drop stone thrown by the cultivator was slightly different from the one the middle-aged man took out. The middle-aged man's blood drop stone had already been broken in half by the plane barrier. As for the cultivator's blood drop stone, there was only a small crack in the middle. I want to ask you a few questions. I hope you can answer me honestly. The human demon casually threw the blood drop stone to Ningyu and said to the cultivator, I will definitely answer as long as you promise not to kill me. The cultivator nodded hurriedly, afraid that the human demon would suddenly attack him. The scene of the demonic human killing the middle-aged man still lingered in the mind of the embroidered-clothed cultivator. Back in the Chilan cave, the brocade-clothed cultivator learned that the middle-aged man was an expert from the blood drop sect. The blood droplet sect's strength was about the same as the Heartless Valley's. The human demon didn't even frown when he killed the people from the blood droplet sect. From this, it could be seen that if he offended the human demon wouldn't show mercy. In order to survive, the embroidered-clothed martial artist decided to say everything he knew. Go! The human demon grabbed the brocade-robed cultivator's shoulder, and his figure flashed as he flew into the distance. From the human demon's point of view, the matter between him and the Passionless Valley was a personal grudge. It wasn't appropriate for Ningyu to get involved. Moreover, the human demon did not want Ningyu to offend the Heartless Valley before he even entered the high-level plane. Ningyu could more or less guess what human demon was thinking. Since human demon didn't want Ningyu to know, Ningyu wouldn't be stupid enough to ask. The blood droplet stone is a good item. Ningyu retracted his consciousness and looked at the blood droplet stone in his hand. In his previous life, Ningyu was an alchemist who was infinitely close to becoming a pill sovereign, so he had some understanding of the blood droplet stone. However, Ningyu didn't know much about the blood droplet stone. He only knew that it was very precious and could be used as the main ingredient to refine a certain kind of pill. As for what kind of pill it was, even Ningyu in his previous life didn't know. Let me see what's so special about you. Ningyu's mind moved, and he used his powerful perception to carefully approach the blood droplet stone, wanting to enter it. At first, when Ningyu's perception approached the blood droplet stone, there were no changes. However, when Ningyu's perception entered the blood droplet stone and touched the drop of dark gold blood, the blood droplet stone finally changed. Crack! The blood droplet stone, which was already cracked, suddenly broke into two halves. the drop of dark golden blood inside suddenly fell to the ground. At this critical moment, Ningyu hurriedly swung his hand, wanting to throw the blood droplet stone away. However, under such circumstances, Ningyu was clearly half a beat slower. The dark gold blood in the blood droplet stone flowed along Ningyu's palm and frantically entered his body. Get out! Ningyu knew that he had gone overboard this time. He hurriedly transferred all the soul power in his body to his arm, wanting to force the dark gold blood out of his arm. Chi! 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 When the dark gold blood and Ningyu's soul power came into contact, a sizzling sound was heard. A portion of the dark gold blood was forced out of his body by Ningyu's soul power. The other portion of the dark gold blood broke through Ningyu's soul power defense and continued drilling towards Ningyu's heart. Demonic lotus flame. Ningyu's expression turned extremely grave. Since his soul power could not resist the dark gold blood's corrosion, he directly mobilized the demonic lotus flame, hoping to stop the dark gold blood's advancement. The demonic lotus flame was a very terrifying flame. Its core temperature was ridiculously high. Under the encirclement of the demonic lotus flame, another portion of the dark gold blood was forced out of his body. Although dark golden blood was constantly being forced out of the ground, there was still a small amount of dark golden blood that successfully reached Ningyu's heart. God of War blood! Ningyu realized the severity of the problem. He took a deep breath and immediately unleashed the God of War body to the extreme. Ningyu had the God of War body, and his heart had already produced the God of War body's blood. Coincidentally, the God of War body's blood was also dark gold. Swoosh! A stream of dark gold blood swept out from Ningyu's heart. In the blink of an eye, it arrived beside the dark gold blood in the blood droplet stone. What happened next made Ningyu's mouth slightly open in disbelief. The dark gold blood in the blood droplet stone was instantly devoured as soon as it came into contact with the God of War body's blood. Nothing was left. Buzz. After the dark gold blood in the blood droplet stone was devoured, Ningyu clearly felt that his God of War body had matured a little more. Previously, the reason why Ningyu did not use the God of War body when fighting others was because he felt that the God of War body had reached a bottleneck. Even if he used it, it would not be of much help to him. The strength of the God of War body was closely related to the dark gold blood that was produced at the heart. If only one drop of dark gold blood was produced, then the power of the God of War body would not be particularly strong. If he could produce 2 drops of dark gold blood, or even dozens of drops, then the power of the God of War body would be displayed. For a long period of time, the dark gold blood produced by Ningyu's heart was maintained at around 5 drops. Ningyu didn't deliberately cultivate, nor did he deliberately think of ways to increase his dark golden blood. But now, Ningyu's expression changed for the first time. Chapter 17:14. Thud, thud, thud. The dark golden blood in the blood drop stone could aid in the birth of the war god body's blood. Ningyu had to pay attention to this matter. Swoosh. Ningyu forced a drop of dark golden blood out of his body and inserted it into the remaining blood drop stone. TSK, TSK. As expected, what happened next verified Ningyu's guess. The blood in the blood drop stone could indeed aid in the birth of the war god body's blood. Could it be the war god body's blood as well? Ningyu's brows furrowed as he started to ponder about the blood drop stone. If the dark golden blood in the blood drop stone was the war god body's blood, then things would be a little scary. Each blood drop stone contained a drop of dark golden blood. In fact, the blood drop sect even had a huge stockpile of blood drop stones. With so many blood drop stones, how many war god bodies would they have to kill? Just the thought of it made one's hair stand on end. Looks like I have to ask the human demon about the blood drop sect. Ningyu made up his mind. When the human demon returned, he would definitely ask about the blood drop sect. Ningyu was not a savior. If the blood drop sect really killed other war god bodies, he would not rashly make an enemy out of them. The only thing that Ningyu was worried about was that the Blood Drop sect would find out about his identity as a war god body and harm him. Of course, it was a little early for Ningyu to think about these things. After all, Ningyu had not charged out of the cage of the immortal spirit realm yet. Although it was a little early to think about these things, it was always good to prepare for a rainy day. Some things had to be thought about in advance and think of a way to deal with them. Otherwise, when things came to him, he would often be flustered and at a loss on what to do. Ningyu did not want to do that, so it was imperative to understand the Blood Drop sect. In the following period of time, Ningyu focused on devouring and refining the dark golden blood that he had just obtained. After more than 10 minutes of refining and devouring, Ningyu discovered that the dark golden blood in his heart had increased from 5 to 6 drops. Although it was just one more drop of dark golden blood, this extra drop of blood increased Ningyu's strength by a lot. I'll use this time to practice the netherworld samsara palm. Ningyu looked into the distance and realized that the human devil had no intention of returning. He immediately decided to cultivate the netherworld samsara palm. As for the netherworld samsara palm, Ningyu had already cultivated it to the 10th palm, the yin-yang palm. The 11th palm strike was called the palm of creation, and it was extremely powerful. According to Ningyu's estimation, with his current state, it wouldn't be long before he could successfully cultivate the palm of creation. Whoosh! Before Ningyu could start cultivating the palm of fortune, a figure flew over from afar. Human demon. The human demon's figure flickered, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared beside Ningyu. Since the human demon was here, Ningyu naturally gave up on cultivating the palm of fortune. Ningyu knew very well that with the human demon's personality, he would definitely go to the Emperor Divine Palace. It wasn't the right time to cultivate the palm of fortune at this time. After returning, the human demon was in no hurry to leave. Instead, he looked at the shattered blood drop stones and asked doubtfully, "Where did the blood in these 2 blood drop stones go?" "I devoured them." Ningyu didn't hide anything from the human demon and answered truthfully. "What?" Hearing Ningyu's words, the human demon's mouth opened wide in shock, and his entire body froze on the spot. The human demon's exaggerated expression made Ningyu feel even more incredulous. Could it be that the human demon didn't know that the blood in the blood drop stones was the blood of the war god physique? In truth, Ningyu was right. The human demon didn't know what kind of blood was in the blood drop stones. In the higher planes, many people had studied the blood drop stones, and even martial artists who had surpassed the sage realm had done so. Without exception, all the martial artists who had studied the blood drop stones had failed. Besides the absolute upper echelons of the blood drop sect, no one knew what kind of blood was in the blood drop stones. A portion of them had tried to devour the blood drop stone's blood, and there was no lack of sage realm martial artists among them. However, those sage realm martial artists who had devoured the blood had all suffered a backlash. Now, Ningyu said that he had devoured the blood drop stone's blood and was still standing on the spot as if nothing had happened. How could the human demon not be shocked? "Are you sure you've devoured and refined the blood drop stone's blood?" The human demon still didn't quite believe it. He asked again to confirm it. "That's right." Ningyu nodded, expressing that he absolutely wouldn't lie to the human demon. "Why can you devour the blood drop stone's blood? Why can you?" The human demon seemed to be in a daze as he muttered incessantly. The reason why the human demon had such a reaction was because he had a friend who had also devoured the blood drop stone's blood in a higher plane. At that time, his friend had suffered heavy injuries. Helpless, he could only devour the blood drop stone's blood and pray for a miracle. Unfortunately, the miracle didn't happen. His friend had almost died. Although his friend didn't die, his current situation was no different from death. He could only rely on a large number of treasures to sustain his life every day. "I got it!" Suddenly, the human demon seemed to grasp something. He slapped his thigh and unleashed his powerful perception, directly entering Ning Yu's body. Ning Yu didn't know why the human demon had such a reaction, but he could only pray that the human demon didn't do anything out of line. 6 drops of war divine body blood, and one of them was only born recently. With the human demon's powerful perception, he could naturally easily discover the situation in Ning Yu's body. This shocking discovery resolved all the doubts in the human demon's heart. The blood in the blood drop stones should be war divine body blood without a doubt. The human demon took a deep breath, his expression turning even graver. There were countless blood drop stones in the blood drop sect. No wonder so many war divine bodies would disappear for no reason in the higher planes. Now that he thought about it, those missing war divine bodies must have been captured by the blood drop sect and used to make blood drop stones. Senior, I want to know more about the blood drop sect. At this time, Ning Yu asked cautiously. The power of the blood drop sect is not something you can imagine. With your current strength, it's better not to ask about it. The human demon looked at Ning Yu meaningfully, then said, "What we need to do now is to kill our way to the Emperor Palace as soon as possible, then seize all the resources there so that I can recover to the late stage of the Sage Realm." After knowing that the blood drop stones contained war divine body blood, the human demon's mind became active. He wanted to recover to the late stage of the Sage Realm as soon as possible, then use the Qilin natal blood to reach the Great Perfection Sage Realm. At that time, he could think of a way to return to the higher plane. In the immortal spirit realm, the density of Yuan Qi and the resources could not satisfy his cultivation need. Only by returning to the higher plane as soon as possible could he completely solve the problem of the energy seal in his body. Since Di Shao had the cultivation of a half-step sage, it meant that there must be other sages in the Emperor Palace. At this moment, the human demon's heart even began to waver. He wanted the ability that he had sealed. Chapter 1715. Chapter 1715 U Divine Emperor Swish. The human devil did things swiftly and decisively, leaving as soon as he said so. A moment ago, he was still warning Ning Yu not to investigate the blood drop sect. But the next moment, his figure flickered and he flew away. Since the human demon had left, there was no need for Ning Yu to stay. His figure flickered and he followed closely behind the human demon. The middle-aged man from the blood drop sect and the cultivator from the unrequited Love Valley were just a small interlude. After the interlude, Ning Yu and the human demon moved at full speed to reach the Emperor Palace as soon as possible. Ever since he successfully reached the Heavenly Supreme Realm, Ning Yu wasn't particularly resistant to attacking the Emperor Palace. Since the human demon had dealt with the saints, his task was to deal with the remaining heavenly sovereigns. With Ning Yu's current fighting strength, it wouldn't be a problem for him to deal with pinnacle heavenly sovereigns. From the Moling Mountain Range to the Emperor Palace, Ning Yu and the human demon would arrive in 2 to 3 hours if they moved at full speed. However, Ning Yu and the human demon had to stop after moving at full speed for an hour. The Emperor Palace was one of the most powerful forces in the Sky Demon region, so its defense was naturally the best. To reach the main gate of the Emperor Palace, they had to pass through several checkpoints. The first checkpoint was the Emperor City. As the largest city under the Emperor Palace, the Emperor City was twice the size of the giant Shield City and the 100 Flowers City. Moreover, the defensive array of the Emperor City was also several times more terrifying than the peerless killing array of the giant Shield City. The reason why Ning Yu and the human demon stopped wasn't because they encountered danger, but because they had reached the main gate of the Emperor City. "I'll help you hide your aura and we'll try to sneak into the Emperor City." The human demon's expression was extremely grave. Even though his strength had recovered to the middle phase Saint Realm, he was still extremely cautious. Although the defensive array of the Emperor City wasn't activated and there were only Earth sovereigns guarding the city gate, the human demon was still extremely cautious. What the human demon was concerned about wasn't the number of martial artists guarding the gate of Emperor City. He was concerned about two things. The first one was the city defense array of Emperor City. To be honest, once the grand array of Emperor City was activated, even human fiends wouldn't be able to get out in a short time. Secondly, the human demon sensed the energy of a few saints in Emperor City. It was obvious that there were more than one sage in Emperor City. As for the saints in Emperor City, he had no idea whether they were early stage or mid-stage saints. Human Demon really wanted to get to Emperor Divine Palace as soon as possible, but it was not Human Demon's style to act rashly before figuring out how strong the enemy was. The Human Demon's thinking was simple. He would sneak into Emperor City first, then find a way to find out the cultivation level of the saints hidden in Emperor City. Once they figured out the situation of Emperor City, the human demon would be the first to act. Stop right there. Ning Yu and the human demon changed their appearances slightly and walked side by side. But as soon as they arrived at the city gate, they were stopped by a 5th-grade Earth Supreme Guard. The guard didn't ask Ning Yu and the human demon for spirit crystals. Instead, he took out a palm-sized crystal and circled around Ning Yu and the human demon in a clockwise direction. The 5th-grade Earth Supreme held the crystal and circled around Ning Yu and the human demon, but the crystal didn't change at all. Let's go in. The 5th-grade Earth Supreme put away the crystal and waved his hand, indicating that Ning Yu and the human demon could enter Emperor City. Since they could enter Emperor City, Ning Yu and the human demon wouldn't risk their lives again. The two of them entered Emperor City unhurriedly. Don't miss it. If you don't buy it today, by tomorrow. High-quality rhinoceros skin for only 1 spirit crystal. You won't be able to find it again if you miss this opportunity. The latest elixir was made by Master Tong himself. I'm sure you'll come again after you buy it. As soon as Ning Yu and the human demon entered Emperor City, they heard people peddling their wares. The peddling seemed to have attracted the interest of Ning Yu and the human demon. They looked left and right and haggled with the stall owner from time to time. They were very busy. The reason why Ning Yu and the human demon were in such a state was because several powerful auras locked onto them as soon as they entered Emperor City. According to the information that the demonic human had sent to Ning Yu, the weakest amongst them was a pinnacle heavenly sovereign, and there were even a few in the saint realm. Thanks to Ning Yu's experience of 2 lives, he was able to withstand the pressure. Otherwise, he wouldn't have faced such a situation with a normal mind. Fortunately, the auras only stayed on Ning Yu and the human demon for a few seconds before they moved to others. Although the auras were no longer locked onto them, Ning Yu was still calm. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. In this half an hour, Ning Yu and human demon casually bought a few things. Where are we going now? Ning Yu asked the human demon after wandering on the street for half an hour. Let's go to a restaurant. That's the best place to gather information, the human demon said. Since ancient times, restaurants had always been a place where crooks mixed with the honest folks. In the restaurant, it was possible to meet otherworldly experts, direct descendants of large clans, and also people from the street. The human demon had his own considerations when he chose to go to a restaurant. Before entering Emperor City, the human demon already knew that there were several sage auras in the city. Coincidentally, one of the auras of a sage came from the huge restaurant in front of Ning Yu and the human devil, the Emperor Restaurant. In Emperor City, the Emperor Restaurant was a business of the Emperor Palace, and it had the highest standard of hospitality in Emperor City. No matter who it was, the requirement to enter the Emperor Restaurant was 100 sacred grade origin crystals. Although 100 sacred grade origin crystals wasn't a lot for real experts, it was still difficult for cultivators below the Sky Supreme level to come up with such a sum. Wait! An early Sky Supreme guard stopped Ning Yu and the human demon in front of the Emperor Restaurant. The guard extended his right hand and said, 200 sacred grade origin crystals. Swish. Ningyu behaved generously and threw an interspatial pouch to the guard. There were 500 sacred grade origin crystals in it. The rest are yours. Throwing out the interspatial pouch, Ningyu waved his hand at the guard. Bring us to the best room in the Emperor restaurant. Yes. The guard immediately showed respect to Ningyu when he saw the number of origin crystals in the interspatial pouch. In the guard's view, Ningyu was the young master of a major clan, so he came to the Emperor restaurant just to show off. Chapter 1716. Oppressive or the early stage Heavenly Supreme Guard's idea was exactly what Ningyu and the human demon wanted. The master-servant relationship between Ningyu and the human demon was well thought out. Now that they had arrived at Emperor City, there were many sages and there was a city-protecting array. Under this premise, it was harder than ascending to heaven to reach the Emperor Divine Palace. Therefore, Ningyu and the human demon decided to start from another angle. They wanted to pretend to be a young master or a guard of a big family and spend lavishly in the Emperor restaurant to show that they didn't lack money. That was the only way to attract the attention of the senior officials of Emperor City and secretly control them. Then, they would find a way to figure out the truth about Emperor City and the Emperor Palace. To be honest, the extra 300 Saint-grade essence crystals made Ningyu feel a little pained. Now, Ningyu had less than 1,000 Saint-grade essence crystals with him. And these essence crystals were secretly hidden by Ningyu. The more he spent, the less he had. But the 300 Saint-grade essence crystals were indeed worth it. The early-stage Heavenly Supreme Guard took Ningyu and the human demon to the 4th room on the 3rd floor of the Emperor restaurant. The rooms in the Emperor restaurant were divided into 3 sections: Heaven, Earth, and Human. There were 2 Heaven stage rooms in total. There were 4 Earth stage rooms in total. As for the people rooms, there were more of them, a total of 16 of them. What the hell is going on? Ningyu stared at the words on the door in front of him, and his face became extremely gloomy. He said in a deep voice, I asked you to take me to the best room in the Emperor restaurant. Is the number 4 Earth room the best room? Ningyu's behavior was extremely arrogant, extremely arrogant. Ningyu even stared at the early stage Heavenly Supreme Guard as if he was going to attack. Seeing Ningyu's attitude towards him, the early stage Heavenly Supreme Guard's expression didn't look too good. No matter what, he was an early stage Heavenly Supreme, while the kid in front of him was only a 1st-grade Earth Supreme. Under the human demon's concealment, Ningyu only revealed his cultivation as a 1st-grade Earth Sovereign. Therefore, the early-stage Heavenly Sovereign Guards assumed that Ningyu was a 1st-grade Earth Sovereign. If a Grade 1 Earth Sovereign roared at a Heavenly Supreme, wouldn't it be disastrous? It was fine for him to lose face, but he couldn't lose face for the Emperor restaurant. Otherwise, the higher-ups of the Emperor restaurant would skin him alive. Some time ago, several warriors caused trouble in front of the Emperor restaurant. Although the guards in front of the Emperor restaurant stopped the troublemakers in time, the guards were still severely punished after the incident. The reason for this was that the guards did not kill the troublemaker directly. When Ningyu spoke to the early stage Heavenly Supreme Guard in such a tone, the guard even wanted to kill Ningyu. Because he was afraid of the human demon, the early stage Heavenly Supreme did not make a move directly. Instead, he said coldly, the rooms in front are already reserved. The best room is Earth Room 4. Call your boss here. Ningyu said angrily, I must have Sky Room 1 today. You can't afford to delay my important business. You. The early stage Heavenly Supreme was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He pointed at Ningyu with his right hand and was about to roar a few words, but he stopped abruptly. Then, the early stage Heavenly Supreme's attitude became extremely respectful. He said to Ningyu, please follow me. I'll take you to Sky Room 1 now. As he spoke, the Sky Supreme made an inviting gesture with his hand. That's more like it. Ningyu walked toward the fourth floor with his head held high and chest puffed out. The human demon and early stage Heavenly Supreme followed closely behind Ningyu. Gentlemen, this is as far as I can take you. Sky Room 1 is just ahead. Please go ahead. At the entrance of the fourth floor of the Emperor Restaurant, an early stage Heavenly Supreme stopped and respectfully pointed to the front. It's none of your business. Hurry up and scram. Ningyu waved his hand impatiently. Without even turning his head back, he quickly headed for the number 1 Sky VIP room. Your acting is quite good. The human demon was a little dazed as he followed behind Ningyu. Ningyu's acting was indeed exaggerated. But this kind of exaggerated performance was very much like the arrogant young masters of big families. In order to attract the attention of the Emperor Restaurant's upper echelons, he had to act like this so naturally that no one would be able to see through him. It didn't take long for Ningyu and the human demon to arrive in front of Sky Room 1. This time, Ningyu restrained his arrogance a little and asked, "Who's inside?" The reason why Ningyu acted like this wasn't because Ningyu didn't want to be arrogant, but because he could be arrogant, but he couldn't be an idiot. There were 2 martial artists in the Sky Series private room. At this moment, both of them released their auras. One was an old man in his 60s or 70s, and his aura had reached early stage Saint. The other was 2 to 3 years older than Ningyu, and his aura had reached the pinnacle Heavenly Supreme. The reason why Ningyu restrained his arrogance was because he was afraid of the early stage Saint in the room. In the face of an early stage Saint's warning, Ningyu would be an idiot if he deliberately acted arrogant. Swish. Facing the pressure of an early stage Saint, the human demon took half a step forward and stood side by side with Ningyu. An aura that wasn't any weaker than an early stage Saint emanated from the human demon, which easily resisted the pressure from Sky Room 1. As for the pressure of a pinnacle Heavenly Supreme, the human demon did not resist it, but left it to Ningyu. Go! The pressure of a pinnacle Heavenly Supreme couldn't affect Ningyu at all. The corner of Ningyu's lips rose as he gently waved his right hand before him and a powerful aura emanated from his body. Sizzle! Sizzle! The 2 auras clashed. Clearly, Ningyu's aura had gained the upper hand. Creak! When Ningyu's aura gained the upper hand, the door of Sky Room 1 slowly opened. Come in. Shortly after, a faint voice resounded from the room. Ningyu didn't show the slightest fear and strode into the number 1 heavenly box. As soon as he entered Sky Room 1, Ningyu felt a gaze staring at him without the slightest fear. There was no need to think about it. The person who stared at Ningyu without the slightest scruple was the Peak Sky Supreme, who was 2 to 3 years older than Ningyu. Since someone was staring at him, Ningyu naturally had to respond. A first-grade Earth Supreme? The Pinnacle Sky Supreme looked at Ningyu. Although he looked calm on the surface, he was actually extremely shocked. In his view, Ningyu was only a first-grade Earth Supreme. With a cultivation of first-grade Earth Sovereign, he was actually able to withstand the pressure of his aura. Furthermore, he even faintly gained the upper hand. This made things awkward. Chapter 1717. Semi-compromise. I don't believe it. Zhang Kejuan's expression became extremely ugly. No matter what, it wouldn't be good for him if a first-grade Earth Sovereign easily withstood the pressure of a pinnacle Heavenly Sovereign. He would get back at them the way he lost his face. This was what Zhang Kejuan was thinking. Zhang Kejuan was a practical person. Whatever he thought, he would act accordingly. Buzz. In the next instant, a terrifying aura burst forth from Zhang Kejuan's body, pressing down on Ningyu once again. In order to gain the upper hand, Zhang Kejuan even used some hidden methods. The oppressive aura of a half-step saint. Zhang Kejuan had reached the pinnacle Heavenly Supreme realm at such a young age, so he naturally had a lot of trump cards on him. A pinnacle Heavenly Sovereign can actually use the aura of a quasi-saint. Looks like he's in the upper echelons of the Emperor Palace. Ning Yu's expression didn't change in the slightest when he felt the oppressive aura coming towards him. In fact, Ning Yu was very satisfied, extremely satisfied. At the very least, the angrier this pinnacle heavenly sovereign was, the more advantageous it would be for him in the negotiation. As for the pressure of the half-step saint, Ning Yu didn't care about it at all. Ning Yu had just been tempered by 2 drops of true dragon blood not long ago, and he also had Qilin blood and Qilin life blood. Although Ning Yu couldn't deal with a half-sage expert for the time being, Ning Yu didn't fear the pressure of a half-sage expert's aura. Ning Yu's calm performance made the corners of Zhang Kejuan's mouth involuntarily rise. In Zhang Kejuan's opinion, the reason why a first-grade Earth Supreme like Ning Yu dared to be so arrogant was definitely because of the guard beside him. Since you want the guards to help you resist the pressure of the imposing aura, fine, I will cut off this thought of yours. With a thought, Zhang Kejuan winked at the old man beside him. His meaning was self-evident. Rumble. Di Tianming was well aware of Zhang Kejuan's action. Di Tianming gently stepped forward with his right foot and an extremely terrifying aura rippled out from his body. Di Tianming was at the early stage of the Saint Realm. The aura he was emitting now was very obvious. Di Tianming was putting on a show for the human demons. The two of us shouldn't blindly get involved in a fight between juniors. Let them settle it themselves. To be honest, before Ning Yu reached the heavenly sovereign realm, if Ning Yu faced such a provocation, he would definitely retaliate without any hesitation. However, Ning Yu had reached the heavenly sovereign realm. Human Demon was very confident in Ning Yu's current strength. Ning Yu's potential was something that even the demonic humans did not have a rough understanding of. However, the Human Demon believed that Ning Yu wouldn't feel any pressure against a Peak Sky Supreme. Ning Yu stood his ground. Facing Zhang Kejuan's oppressive aura, he did not make any move. Arrogant. Zhang Kejuan's evaluation of Ning Yu was that he was arrogant, conceited, and ignorant. Zhang Kejuan had to admit that Ning Yu was strong, but that was all. He was not ridiculously strong. He might be able to resist the aura of a Peak Sky Supreme, but what about a half-sage? It was harder than ascending to the heavens for a Grade 1 Earth Supreme to resist the aura of a half-sage. What? But what happened next left Zhang Kejuan completely dumbfounded. He had used his trump card to display the aura of a half-sage, but it had no effect on Ning Yu. In other words, it was easier for Ning Yu to resist the aura of a half-sage than it was for him to resist the aura of a Peak Sky Supreme. This made things even more awkward. Zhang Kejuan felt like he had been greatly insulted. At this point, Zhang Kejuan was certain that Ning Yu was an old monster that had lived for many years. The only reason he had displayed a cultivation of a Grade 1 Earth Supreme was to act like a pig to eat a tiger. What's your cultivation? Zhang Kejuan stared at Ning Yu and said coldly, and how old are you? Zhang Kejuan was now focused on 2 things. First, what was Ning Yu's cultivation? Zhang Kejuan really wanted to know. Second, how old was Ning Yu? If Ning Yu was a dozen years older than him, or even a few decades older, Zhang Kejuan would definitely feel a little better in his heart. However, if Ning Yu was as he looked, a few years younger than him, Zhang Kejuan would probably collapse. What's wrong? You're not as skilled as me, so you're trying to find out about my background? Ning Yu raised his eyebrows and stared at Zhang Kejuan with interest. I heard you, ahem. At this time, Ning Yu cleared his throat to make himself look pretentious. When Ning Yu cleared his throat, not only did Zhang Kejuan look at him, but even Di Tianming couldn't help looking at him. Why should I report to you what I do in my life? Ning Yu raised the corner of his mouth and looked at Zhang Kejuan with disdain. He said proudly, You're a Peak Heaven Supreme, but you're so weak. You're a disgrace to Emperor Palace. You Ning Yu's words made Zhang Kejuan lose his temper. This was going too far. This was really going too far. Zhang Kejuan took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. What Ning Yu said was a disgrace to Emperor Palace, and it had nothing to do with him. He didn't need to fall out with Ningyu because of Emperor Palace. After all, he wasn't from Emperor Palace. Zhang Kejuan's calmness made Ningyu look at him in a new light. He was mocking Emperor Palace, but Di Tianming could still be so calm. This showed that he wasn't simple. Ningyu's arrogance was based on Human Demon's powerful strength. In the first round of fight between Human Demon and Di Tianming, it was obvious that Human Demon had the absolute advantage. According to Ningyu's guess, Zhang Kejuan hadn't fallen out with him completely, so the fight between Human Demon and Di Tianming must have played a decisive role. Haha, let me introduce myself first. At this time, perhaps to help Zhang Kejuan out, Di Tianming smiled and said, I'm Di Tianming and he's Zhang Kejuan. We're from the demon spirit realm. Boom. Di Tianming's words set off a storm in Ningyu's heart. No wonder Zhang Kejuan didn't fall out with him when he heard him mocking Emperor Palace. At first, Ningyu thought it was because of the fight between Human Demon and Zhang Kejuan. Now it seemed that Zhang Kejuan wasn't from Emperor Palace had a certain effect. Demon spirit realm? Ningyu raised his eyebrows and said impatiently, I don't care if you're from the demon spirit realm or the celestial spirit realm. Anyway, I'm taking the heavenly number 1 box. Chapter 17-18. Settling the score. Ningyu could see it clearly. When he finished speaking, Zhang Kejuan and Di Tianming's expressions clearly changed. Zhang Kejuan and Di Tianming were both at the demon spirit realm, and they were also very strong. Someone who could make their expressions change was definitely not ordinary. First of all, that person had to be at least a sage. Secondly, that person's status in Divine Emperor Palace should be terrifyingly high. Russell. Not long after, a middle-aged man appeared in Ningyu's vision. The middle-aged man's gaze fell on the Human Demon as soon as he entered the first skybox. He completely ignored Ningyu. The middle-aged man had been watching the entire battle between the Human Demon and Di Tianming from the void. Through observation, the middle-aged man gave the Human Demon a rough estimate. His cultivation was around the peak of early-stage sage. His exact strength wasn't clear, but he was at least at the peak of early-stage sage, possibly even at mid-stage sage. After all, Di Tianming's true battle prowess was at the peak of early-stage sage, and Di Tianming was at a disadvantage against the Human Demon. Therefore, the Human Demon's strength was infinitely close to mid-stage sage. I heard that you want to stay in the first skybox and want to chase away my most distinguished guest? The middle-aged man retracted his thoughts and said to the Human Demon, I'll give you 2 choices. 1. Get out of here as soon as possible. 2. Apologize to Di Tianming and young Master Zhang. Zhang Kejuan immediately. Before the Human Demon could speak, Ningyu crossed his arms and looked at the middle-aged man with interest. I think the 3rd choice is more suitable for us. Ningyu's sudden interjection made the middle-aged man's face turn a little dark. The middle-aged man was a wily old fox, so he naturally noticed the relationship between Ningyu and the Human Demon. If he had to choose between Ningyu and the Human Demon, the middle-aged man would definitely choose the Human Demon. There was no other reason. One was an early-stage Sky Supreme, while the other was close to mid-stage Sage. If it was anyone else, they would have chosen the Human Devil. His words are my words, the Human Demon said indifferently. At this time, the Human Demon said, From now on, every word he says represents my meaning. The meaning of the Human Demon's words was clear. Being disrespectful to Ningyu is being disrespectful to me. The middle-aged man's expression turned ugly. The middle-aged man had chosen to appear at this time to suppress the Human Demon with Di Tianming. It would be best if the Human Demon could reveal the purpose of their visit. But from the looks of it now, it might be a little tricky. Let's attack together and probe him. Just as the middle-aged man was feeling a little troubled, Di Tianming's words suddenly rang out in his mind. Hearing this, the middle-aged man immediately became enlightened. Both he and Di Tianming were at the peak of the early stage sage realm. If the two of them joined hands to probe the human demon, they should be able to find out the truth about the human demon. However, the middle-aged man was still a little uncertain. Before he made his move, he asked Di Tianming to contact all the demon spirit state sages in Emperor City. In order to reach a deep cooperation agreement with the Emperor Divine Palace, Di Tianming had brought the war immortals from the other big families in the demon spirit realm to express his sincerity. Only in the devil spirit realm could a sage obtain the title of sage. For example, the war god of the An clan, An Qianhao. Each of the 9 big families in the devil spirit realm had more than one war god. How arrogant! After secretly thinking of a countermeasure, the middle-aged man and Di Tianming shouted at the same time and quickly rushed toward the human demon. The two martial artists at the peak of the early stage of the sage realm joined hands to attack the human demon. For a moment, Zhang Kejuan was a little dumbfounded. To be honest, Zhang Kejuan did not expect this result. In Zhang Kejuan's opinion, it was really unwise for the middle-aged man to make an enemy of the human demon at this time, as the absolute senior of the Emperor Divine Palace. In any case, the human demon was a martial artist at the sage realm, so he must have a huge force behind him. Making an enemy out of the human demon at this time was definitely bad news for the cooperation between the devil spirit realm and the Emperor Divine Palace. As the youngest genius of the Zhang clan in the devil spirit realm, Zhang Kejuan had already been secretly selected as the next war god. As long as he could successfully cooperate with the Emperor Divine Palace, Zhang Kejuan would be able to get the best resources of the Zhang clan and successfully reach the sage realm. Therefore, Zhang Kejuan did not want to offend the human demon and the force behind Ningyu. However, in Zhang Kejuan's heart, he hoped that Di Tianming and the middle-aged man could defeat the human demon, or even capture the human demon alive. In that case, he could attack Ningyu unscrupulously and let Ningyu have a taste of his true strength. Zhang Kejuan had a kind of almost blind confidence in himself. He believed that the reason Ningyu could withstand the pressure of his aura was largely because of the magic treasures he had on him. It had little to do with his own strength. Zhang Kejuan really wanted to spar with Ningyu and defeat the arrogant guy, Ningyu, fair and square. Rumble. Di Tianming and the middle-aged man used their full strength right from the start. Di Tianming and the middle-aged man did not dare to be careless when dealing with a martial artist who was suspected to be at the mid-stage of the sage realm. Even though they used their full strength, the two of them still secretly warned the sages and even the half-sages around them. Once the human demon displayed his terrifying strength, the sages and half-sages hiding in the surroundings would attack unconditionally. The human demon had long sensed that there were sages and half-sages hiding in the surroundings, so he had been hiding his cultivation of the mid-stage of the sage realm and deliberately revealed his cultivation of the peak of the early stage of the sage realm. On one hand, the human demon did not want to reveal his strength so early. On the other hand, the human demon wanted to capture all the sages in one fell swoop. However, the second idea only lingered in the human demon's mind for a second before it was thrown to the back of his mind. Even though the human demon had the battle strength of the peak of the mid-stage of the sage realm, it would still be very difficult to capture all the sages in one fell swoop. If there was a fish that escaped the net and they contacted the Emperor Divine Palace and the experts of the demon spirit realm, it would be self-defeating. Therefore, the human demon decided to deal with Di Tianming and the middle-aged man first and let Ningyu and Zhang Kejuan exchange blows. If Ningyu could find a way to control Zhang Kejuan, it would be very helpful for their next operation. Fight outside. With this thought in mind, the human demon shouted in a low voice. Immediately, his figure flashed and he rushed out of the number 1 skybox. Behind the human demon, Di Tianming and the middle-aged man looked at each other. Then, their figures flashed and they disappeared behind the human demon. As for the sages and half-sages hiding in the void, they did not hesitate and followed Di Tianming and the middle-aged man with all their might. From the moment the human demon and Di Tianming fought to the moment they left, only a few minutes had passed. Zhang Kejuan did not know how to react for a moment and was a little stunned. Ha ha ha! But soon, Zhang Kejuan laughed loudly and the corners of his mouth curled up. He stared at Ningyu and said sinisterly. Chapter 1719. Chapter 1719. Chapter 1719. To be evenly matched, Zhang Kejuan was confident that he could defeat Ningyu. Therefore, after the human demon and Di Tianming left, Zhang Kejuan bared his fangs. Although killing Ningyu might be a little unrealistic, Zhang Kejuan was still very confident that he could defeat Ningyu and make Ningyu kneel down and kowtow a few times. In your opinion, how should we settle this debt? In response to Zhang Kejuan's arrogant words, Ningyu did not take any drastic actions. Ningyu's indifferent performance was a little unexpected for Zhang Kejuan. From Zhang Kejuan's point of view, Ningyu was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. As long as there were no guards by his side, he could easily defeat Ningyu. But now, Zhang Kejuan's heart wavered a little. Since Ningyu had such strong confidence, it meant that he had some ability. Kneel down and kowtow to me a few times, then release your mind and let me control you completely. Zhang Kejuan looked at Ningyu and said coldly, only then will I consider letting you live. Not a bad idea, I agree. Ningyu muttered to himself for a moment before nodding his head. You agree just like that? Zhang Kejuan couldn't believe his ears. Kneeling down and kowtowing to someone else was something that anyone would consider very carefully. Moreover, not only did Ningyu have to kowtow to him, but he also had to open up his mind and let him control it. Under this premise, Ningyu could still agree without hesitation, which indeed made Zhang Kejuan look at him in a new light. What else can I do? You've already made such a huge sacrifice, so I'll definitely fulfill your wish. Spreading his hands out, Ningyu helplessly replied, Truth be told, I don't want to spend so much effort to control a pinnacle heavenly sovereign, since I feel that a pinnacle heavenly sovereign isn't useful to me. The first half of Ningyu's sentence was fine, and Zhang Kejuan was very satisfied. He was just short of praising Ningyu for being sensible. However, the second half of Ningyu's words made Zhang Kejuan so angry that his nose became crooked. In the end, Ningyu had misinterpreted his intentions. He actually thought that he was going to kneel down and kowtow to him, and that he was going to open his mind and let him control it. This was intolerable. Zhang Kejuan was instantly enraged. Without saying a word, he immediately moved and charged at Ningyu at an extremely terrifying speed. At this moment, Zhang Kejuan's thoughts were very simple. He wanted to injure Ningyu and let Ningyu know how powerful he was. In the face of Zhang Kejuan, who was constantly rushing towards him, Ningyu's expression became extremely solemn. Although Ningyu believed that his strength was comparable to a pinnacle heavenly sovereign, and that he could even kill a pinnacle heavenly sovereign, Zhang Kejuan was no ordinary pinnacle heavenly sovereign. A pinnacle heavenly sovereign in his 20s should have combat strength infinitely close to that of a half-saint. In other words, Zhang Kejuan's true combat strength couldn't be estimated using pinnacle heavenly sovereigns. Yin Yang Palm. With a low roar, Ningyu clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out. The Yin Yang Palm was the 10th palm of the netherworld's Samsara palm. Moreover, when Ningyu used the Yin Yang Palm at the Earth Supreme Realm, its power was incomparable to when he used the Yin Yang Palm at the Sky Supreme Realm. The difference was at least dozens of times greater. Ningyu's intentions were very clear with his first move. He wanted to test Zhang Kejuan's true combat strength. Child's play. Zhang Kejuan immediately revealed a disdainful expression when he saw that Ningyu actually wanted to exchange blows with him. The reason why Zhang Kejuan had such an expression was because he had used 100% of his strength in his first punch. As a quasi-war god of the Zhang family, one of the 9 great families of the demonic spirit realm, Zhang Kejuan was very clear about not holding back against an enemy. Since he wanted to defeat Ningyu, he should beat Ningyu to the ground right from the start. He couldn't give Ningyu any chance to counterattack. What I want is for you to underestimate me. Ningyu saw Zhang Kejuan's facial expression. With a thought, Ningyu secretly attached the demonic lotus flame to his fist. Even Zhang Kejuan had used 100% of his strength, so Ningyu naturally wouldn't hold back. Not only would he not hold back, but Ningyu would also use his full strength. Ningyu didn't even think about using flames like the Myriad Beast Flame and the Myriad Bone Flame, which were ranked around the 30s of the Mystic Flames ranking. To deal with Zhang Kejuan, he must use the demonic lotus flame. In the first exchange, Zhang Kejuan and Ningyu both wanted to have the absolute upper hand and defeat the other with one move. Therefore, in the first exchange, Ningyu and Zhang Kejuan used their full strength. Swoosh! Swoosh! 2 figures dashed quickly in the number 1 skybox. Swoosh! Swoosh! Their fists rubbed against the air, emitting a sizzling sound. Bang! In an instant, Ningyu and Zhang Kejuan's fists collided. When the 2 fists collided, an extremely clear sound rang out. Then, the 2 figures quickly retreated, retreating to the edge of the room before stopping. It was obvious. In the first exchange of blows, Ningyu and Zhang Kejuan were evenly matched. They were equally matched. He's actually so powerful. Zhang Kejuan was surprised that his first move couldn't do anything to Ningyu. One should know that in order to have the absolute upper hand in the first exchange, Zhang Kejuan had used 100% of his strength. If he couldn't defeat Ningyu with 100% of his strength, he would at least have to use his trump card to defeat Ningyu. In fact, in Zhang Kejuan's heart, he was very reluctant to use his trump card. This time, Zhang Kejuan had a very important task on his shoulders when he went to the Emperor Palace. After all, if he wanted to gain the upper hand in the negotiation with the Emperor Palace, he had to give the Emperor Palace a surprise. Zhang Kejuan's idea for this surprise was relatively simple. He wanted to challenge the current palace master of the Emperor Palace and give the Emperor Palace a show of strength. Zhang Kejuan knew very well that the palace master of the Emperor Palace was only 20 years older than him. If he challenged the palace master of the Emperor Palace and defeated him, he could, to a great extent, reduce the spirit of the Emperor Palace. Although that was the case, Zhang Kejuan felt that he had been insulted by Ningyu, so he immediately decided to use some of his trump cards to teach Ningyu a lesson. Today you have wings. After thinking through everything, Zhang Kejuan clenched his fists and stared fiercely at Ningyu. However, before Zhang Kejuan could finish his words, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and his face became extremely pale. Demonic Lotus Flame. When he was exchanging blows with Zhang Kejuan just now, Ningyu quietly inserted the demonic lotus flame into Zhang Kejuan's fist and let it lie dormant in Zhang Kejuan's fist. At the critical moment, when Zhang Kejuan decided to counterattack, Ningyu began to use the demonic lotus flame in Zhang Kejuan's fist. The demonic lotus flame was ranked in the top 5 on the mysterious flame list, and its power was extremely terrifying. Under its attack, Zhang Kejuan spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned bloodless and extremely pale. Get out! However, Zhang Kejuan was a peak heaven supreme martial artist and a peerless genius of the Zhang family in the demonic spirit realm. He quickly reacted. Chapter 1720. Absolute Crushing. From the moment he decided to go against Zhang Kejuan, Ningyu had prepared for 2 scenarios. The first preparation was to use the process of punching with Zhang Kejuan to inject the demonic lotus flame into Zhang Kejuan's fist, and then mobilize the demonic lotus flame to further nibble away at Zhang Kejuan's arm. His second preparation was to continue attacking and beat the enemy while they were down. Black Dragon Sword. Ningyu was a practical person. He was prepared to do both. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu took out the Black Dragon Sword and waved it repeatedly, displaying the 10th move of the Emperor God technique, cutting the heavens. Among all of Ningyu's techniques, the strongest was none other than Heaven Slashing. Although the yin-yang palm was powerful, it was built on the premise that it was perfectly compatible with the demonic lotus flame. Severing the heavens was different. As long as he activated the Black Dragon Sword, he would be able to use the move cutting the heavens. Voila! As Ningyu shouted in a low voice, several sword lights separated from the Black Dragon Sword and rushed towards Zhang Kejuan. I can't believe it! Seeing several sword lights rushing towards him, Zhang Kejuan's heart instantly turned cold. Zhang Kejuan was wholeheartedly dealing with the demonic lotus flame in his fist. How could he be in the mood to fight against Ningyu? Through this period of understanding, Zhang Kejuan could almost conclude that the flame in his fist was extremely terrifying. At the very least, it was ranked in the top 10 of the bizarre flame list. Zhang Kejuan was not a fool. It would be very difficult to escape in a short period of time after being entangled by these flames. This is infuriating. Zhang Kejuan's lungs were about to explode. He had the will but not the strength. If it was before, Zhang Kejuan could still use his trump card to deal with Ningyu. But now, he didn't even have a way to use his trump card. The demonic lotus flame was like a parasite. Once it stuck into his body, it would be very difficult to get rid of it. Zhang Kejuan had very few choices in front of him. They could either cut off one of their arms or be killed by Ningyu's attack. Zhang Kejuan knew that he had to make a choice. It was impossible for him to survive and keep his arm. I will settle this score sooner or later. Zhang Kejuan gritted his teeth and decided to abandon his right arm first before using his trump card to fight against Ningyu. As for the grudge of losing his arm, Zhang Kejuan wanted to blame it on Ningyu. You're quite bold. Zhang Kejuan's action of raising his left arm made Ningyu feel slightly disappointed. Ningyu's heart was as clear as a mirror. He knew very well what Zhang Kejuan meant when he raised his left arm. He had to cut off his right arm and abandon his right arm. Since Zhang Kejuan did this, it meant that Zhang Kejuan had revived this certain death situation. Something's wrong. Suddenly, Ningyu seemed to have discovered something terrifying and hurriedly retreated. Rumble! Ningyu had only retreated a few steps when the space where he had been standing suddenly exploded. A figure appeared in the blasted void. A saint. Sensing the terrifying aura emanating from this figure, Ningyu's face turned extremely ugly. Ningyu had never expected that a saint would appear at such a crucial moment. It was no exaggeration to say that this saint's aura concealment technique was too brilliant. It was one thing for Ningyu not to discover his existence, but even the demonic human who had left not long ago did not discover him. The demonic human had recovered to the peak of mid-stage saint, but even he could not discover the martial artist in front of him. This was enough to show how terrifying this martial artist's concealment technique was. Whoosh! After this saint appeared, the first thing he did was not to kill Ningyu, but to casually disperse the sword ray that Ningyu had slashed out. Although Ningyu was an early-stage Sky Supreme and his sky-severing sword ray was extremely powerful, it was still lacking in front of a saint. After casually dispersing the sword ray that Ningyu had slashed out, this saint easily forced out the demonic lotus flame in Zhang Kejuan's right hand. Uncle Chang, this time I really have to thank. The saint's sudden appearance made Zhang Kejuan overjoyed. The saint called Uncle Chang waved his hand, interrupting Zhang Kejuan's words. He said indifferently, "You don't have to thank me. This is my duty. You are the Zhang family's quasi-war god, the most advantageous contender for the next family head. The family head has instructed me to ensure your safety." After saying this, Uncle Chang turned his head to look at Ningyu. Then, his figure gradually became illusory and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Zhang Kejuan's sudden appearance and disappearance made Zhang Kejuan's expression very ugly. Zhang Kejuan was a very arrogant person. It was originally a game between him and Ningyu, but in the end, he still had to ask Zhang Chong for help. At this moment, Zhang Kejuan had the idea of killing Ningyu. Regardless of everything, regardless of the demonic human, regardless of the power behind Ningyu, Zhang Kejuan wanted to kill Ningyu and ruthlessly trample on Ningyu. Kid, I admit that you are very strong. However, in front of me, you are destined to regret being born into this world. The moment the idea of killing Ningyu appeared, it lingered in Zhang Kejuan's mind. Zhang Kejuan stared fiercely at Ningyu and said coldly, I gave you a chance. As long as you knelt down and kowtowed to me a few times, then let go of your mind and let me control you, I will spare your life. Speaking up to this point, Zhang Kejuan paused for a moment before continuing. The opportunity was placed in front of you, but you did not know how to cherish it. You can't blame me for this. After saying this, Zhang Kejuan's hands waved continuously. He had decided to use his trump card. Buzz. However, Zhang Kejuan was destined to have a tragic ending. His trump card had only been used halfway when he hurriedly stopped. There was no other reason. It was because Zhang Kejuan noticed that the void in the number 1 private room had begun to tremble. 3 figures rapidly flew out of the void. The demonic human, the middle-aged man, and Di Tianming. These 3 martial artists were the 3 martial artists who had gone out to fight not long ago. Moreover, judging from their current state, Zhang Kejuan was almost certain that Di Tianming and the middle-aged man had not gained any advantage. This was because Di Tianming and the middle-aged man's expressions were extremely ugly, extremely ugly. Seeing this, Zhang Kejuan hurriedly stopped using his trump card. Unable to use his trump card, Zhang Kejuan's heart was bleeding. One had to know that once Zhang Kejuan used his trump card, it was very difficult to stop it. If he wanted to stop using his trump card, there was only one way, and that was to use another trump card to stop it. In other words, the appearance of Di Tianming and the demonic human had caused Zhang Kejuan to lose 2 trump cards. 2 trump cards that could save his life. Due to the sudden return of the demonic human and Di Tianming, the atmosphere in the number 1 private room became a little gloomy. Fortunately, this gloomy atmosphere did not last long before it was broken by the middle-aged man. Cough cough. The middle-aged man first coughed twice, attracting the attention of the demonic human and Ningyu. He then said in a clear voice, I, Sun Deshun, represent Emperor Divine Palace to welcome the 2 of you. The words of the middle-aged man, who was also Sun Deshun, made Zhang Kejuan a little dumbfounded. Didn't he go with Di Tianming to test the demonic human's strength? Why did this happen? Chapter 1721. Chapter 1721. A large number of sages. Zhang Kejuan felt worse than if he had eaten **T. Ningyu was about to be defeated by him. Who would have thought that the guard next to Ningyu would suddenly return? The guard's return was secondary. What mattered was Sun Deshun's attitude towards the guard. This attitude made Zhang Kejuan feel a little uneasy. Feeling uneasy, Zhang Kejuan used a secret skill unique to the Zhang family and started to communicate with Di Tianming. What's going on? Why does Sun Deshun treat that warrior like this? Zhang Kejuan went straight to the point, not beating around the bush in the slightest, and asked directly. The human demon is very powerful. Sun Deshun and I are no match for him even if we work together. Di Tianming's face also darkened at the mention of the human demon. Di Tianming's expression turned even more unsightly when he recalled the fight with the human demon just now. It was extremely unsightly. After leaving the first skybox, he and Sun Deshun hurriedly chased after the human demon. They wanted to probe the human demon's strength. At the same time, all the sages in Emperor City took action to cheer for them. But Di Tianming had ignored the human demon's speed from the beginning. After leaving the first sky room, Di Tianming and Sun Deshun couldn't catch up with the human demon, no matter how fast they sped up. This situation lasted until they were far away from the sages behind them. The human demon stopped. Although the human demon's behavior was a little abnormal, Di Tianming and Sun Deshun still decided to go all out to test the human demon. The results surprised Di Tianming and Sun Deshun. The human demon only threw 2 punches and Di Tianming and Sun Deshun were defeated. Di Tianming was fine. He only fell back a few feet, but he didn't fall or spit blood. Sun Deshun's situation was much worse than Di Tianming's. Not only did he fall to the ground, but he also spit blood and looked pale. One move. The human demon's one move made Di Tianming and Sun Deshun realize how terrifying his strength was. Di Tianming and Sun Deshun thought that even if the human demon hadn't reached the mid-stage sage, he was infinitely close to it. Di Tianming and Sun Deshun did not dare to be careless when facing a human demon who was at the intermediate stage of the sage realm, or was infinitely close to it. Thus, Di Tianming and Sun Deshun immediately compromised and decided to introduce the human demon to the Dharch Palace. Even you and Sun Deshun together weren't a match for that human demon? Zhang Kejuan's eyes widened, and his jaw almost dropped. Zhang Kejuan was well aware of Di Tianming and Sun Deshun's strength. In Zhang Kejuan's opinion, if Di Tianming and Sun Deshun joined forces, no sage primary stage expert would be a match for them. Now that Di Tianming had personally admitted that the human demon was very powerful, didn't that mean that the human demon's cultivation had reached the middle stage of the sage realm? Thinking of this, Zhang Kejuan was even more surprised. As the number 1 genius of the Zhang family in the demon spirit realm and a quasi-war god, Zhang Kejuan knew what the intermediate stage of the sage realm meant. Sage intermediate stage martial artists represented the peak of the demon spirit realm and immortal spirit realm. If the human demon was really a warrior at the middle stage of the sage realm, wouldn't their trip to the Emperor Divine Palace end in failure? Not only would he fail the mission, but it was also unknown whether he would be able to keep his life. Can we activate the defensive formation of the Emperor's city to deal with him? Zhang Kejuan rolled his eyes and proposed a feasible plan. Although Zhang Kejuan wasn't from the Emperor Divine Palace, he still had some understanding of the defensive formation of the Emperor city. Once the defensive formation was activated, it would be difficult for the human demon to leave the Emperor city even if he was really a middle-stage sage. The key to activating the defensive formation lies with Sun Deshun. Ever since we returned to the Emperor city, I have been reminding him to activate the defensive formation, but he has been indifferent. It would have been fine if Zhang Kejuan hadn't mentioned the defensive formation, but the moment he mentioned it, Di Tianming was furious. In order to make Sun Deshun activate the defensive formation, Di Tianming had racked his brains. In the end, it wasn't satisfactory. Sun Deshun was like a deaf person, and he didn't respond at all. This situation made Di Tianming want to throw a few punches at Sun Deshun and ask him what was going through his mind. Lead the way, let's go to the Emperor Divine Palace now. Just as Di Tianming and Zhang Kejuan were secretly communicating, the human demon's voice was heard in the number 1 sky room. Yes, I will take you there now. Sun Deshun's reaction once again refreshed Di Tianming and Zhang Kejuan's understanding. If it wasn't for the human demon's mild anger, Sun Deshun would have nodded and bowed. However, even if he didn't nod and bow, Sun Deshun's attitude towards the human demon was extremely respectful. As soon as the human demon's voice was heard, Sun Deshun was the first to act and rushed out of the number 1 sky room. Behind Sun Deshun, Ning Yu and the human demon left the number 1 sky room side by side and disappeared in the blink of an eye. What should we do? Di Tianming looked at the empty room and asked. Although Di Tianming's cultivation was higher than Zhang Kejuan's status in the Zhang clan was much higher than Di Tianming's. The reason why Di Tianming followed Zhang Kejuan this time was to let the Emperor Divine Palace see the Zhang clan's strength, and also to ensure Zhang Kejuan's safety. One was in the light, while the other was in the dark. The Zhang clan attached great importance to Zhang Kejuan's safety. To the Emperor Divine Palace. Zhang Kejuan clenched his fists, and an extremely vicious murderous look appeared in his eyes. Zhang Kejuan was a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. He had lost face to Ning Yu and the human demon, so he had to get back at them. Zhang Kejuan already had a general idea of how to get back at them. However, the premise of everything was based on the situation where they didn't get left behind by Ning Yu and the human demon. Therefore, in order to keep up with Ning Yu and the human demon, Zhang Kejuan tore the void with both hands and immediately went in. Since Zhang Kejuan had already taken action, Di Tianming naturally wouldn't delay. However, before leaving, Di Tianming didn't forget to inform the Zhang clan sages around him. Di Tianming asked the sages to stay in the Emperor's city and wait for his and Zhang Kejuan's return. Whoosh! Sun Deshun was from the Emperor Divine Palace. With him leading the way, Ning Yu and the human demon didn't have to worry about running into trouble at the later stages. After all, Sun Deshun had the cultivation of an early-stage sage. In the Emperor Divine Palace, the cultivation of an early-stage sage was enough to rank at the top. Along the way, Ning Yu was very puzzled. Ning Yu's doubts were about Sun Deshun. From the human demon, Ning Yu learned that Sun Deshun's cultivation was at the peak of the early-stage sage, and he was already under control. Ning Yu didn't care how the human demon controlled Sun Deshun. What Ning Yu cared about was why a large number of Sage Realm warriors suddenly appeared in the Emperor Divine Palace. After all, the Emperor Divine Palace had spent so much manpower and resources to mine the sacred-grade primordial crystal mine in the Moling Mountains in order for the one-armed warrior to smoothly advance to the early-stage sage. At that time, Ning Yu was almost certain that even if there were sages in the Emperor Divine Palace, there wouldn't be too many. At most, there would be one. Chapter 1722. Chapter 1722. Chapter 1722. Courting Death. Ning Yu did not know why a large number of sages had suddenly appeared in Divine Emperor Palace, but Ning Yu knew that something must have happened to Divine Emperor Palace. As for what had happened to the Emperor Divine Palace, he would have to go there to find out. Ning Yu glanced at Sun Deshun, who was rushing ahead, then at the human demon beside him, and then at Di Tianming and Zhang Kejuan behind him. Ning Yu couldn't help but feel worried. The human demon's true cultivation was at the peak of mid-stage Sage Realm, and his battle prowess was also at this level. To be honest, Ning Yu did not feel safe with the cultivation of a peak mid-stage human demon saint. It's better to prepare early. With a thought, Ning Yu contacted the little Qilin in the Tower of Yuzuan. Ning Yu was very confident in little Qilin's strength. Even though little Qilin only had the cultivation of an early-stage sage, Ning Yu felt that it could fight against an early-stage sage. Ning Yu contacted little Qilin for a full 10 minutes before little Qilin gave Ning Yu a reply. "I'm very weak now. Before I recover, you'd better not look for me again." After listening to the little Qilin's reply, Ning Yu's mouth was slightly agape, a little dumbfounded. After such a long time, the little Qilin still hadn't recovered. At the same time, Ning Yu had a headache. If little Qilin couldn't help, it meant that human demons would be the main force against Emperor Divine Palace. Back in the Moling Mountain Range, Ning Yu had a lot of confidence in the human demon. But now, Ning Yu's mood wasn't that optimistic. The reason was the unforeseen event that had occurred in the Emperor God Palace. We'll reach the main entrance of the Emperor God Palace after passing through the barrier in front. Leading Ning Yu and the human demon, Sun Deshun finally stopped in front of a snow-white barrier. Pointing at the white barrier, Sun Deshun explained, "This barrier is very special. Only the people from the Emperor Palace can enter. If anyone else tries to barge in, they will trigger the surrounding killing formations and kill them. You mean we can't go in? Human Demon frowned slightly. No, that's not what I meant. Sun Deshan hurriedly waved his hand and said, I just want you to wait here for a while. I'll go in and inform the people of the Emperor Palace, and then. No need, I have a way to break the barrier. The Human Demon waved his hand, interrupting Sun Deshan. In the next moment, the demonic human took a step forward, clenched his fists, and punched out. Whoosh, whoosh. In a split second, 2 rays of cold light shot out and rushed towards the white barrier at a terrifying speed. No. Seeing the Human Demon suddenly attack, Sun Deshan hurriedly cried out, wanting to stop the Human Demon. However, Sun Deshan was clearly half a beat too late to stop the Human Demon. Chi. In the blink of an eye, 2 beams of cold light blasted the white barrier. A sizzling sound rang out. Then, the white barrier caved in, and a gap suddenly appeared. Go! The Human Demon grabbed Ning Yu and passed through the gap. This is bad. Seeing that Ning Yu and the Human Devil had crossed the barrier, Sun Deshan knew that he was done for. He hurriedly chased after them. At the rear, Zhang Kejuan and Di Tianming were extremely reluctant to pass through the barrier. Before coming to Emperor Palace, Zhang Kejuan had investigated Emperor Palace and knew everything about it like the back of his hand. There were several theories about the white barrier in front of Emperor Palace. The most convincing theory was that the white barrier was connected to Emperor Palace's palace-protecting grand formation. Once the white barrier was forcibly broken, it would immediately activate the palace-protecting grand formation. For this reason, Zhang Kejuan really didn't want to follow. But there was nothing he could do. In order to get back at Ningyu, in order to reach an agreement with Emperor Palace, he had to follow them. Whoosh, whoosh. Zhang Kejuan and Di Tianming followed closely, passing through the white barrier in the blink of an eye. Whoosh. No one noticed. There was another figure that passed through the white barrier with Zhang Kejuan and Di Tianming. It was just that almost no one noticed that figure. Rumble. As it turned out, Sun Deshan's warning was correct. As soon as they passed through the white barrier, Human Demon and Ning Yu were hit by a terrifying attack. On the other side of the white barrier, the void trembled and countless cold rays of light rushed out of the void, blasting toward Ning Yu and Human Demon. Since Ning Yu and Human Demon were the first to pass through the barrier, most of the cold rays of light regarded them as the number one enemy. As for Sun Deshan, Zhang Kejuan, and Di Tianming, they were under much less pressure. Child's play. Human Demon obviously didn't care about the cold rays of light that were attacking him. He waved his right hand casually, and in an instant, several palm prints flew out and collided with the cold rays of light. Whoosh! The cold rays and the palm prints collided. The result was a little beyond Sun Deshan's expectations. It was Human Demon's palm prints that won. Is there something wrong with the palace-protecting grand formation? Sun Deshan's mouth was slightly open. His first thought was that there was something wrong with the palace-protecting grand formation. When Sun Deshan and the other saints arrived at Emperor Palace, the first thing they did was to strengthen the palace-protecting grand formation to ensure that the invaders would suffer. Sun Deshan couldn't believe the current situation. The formation that was strengthened by the power of several saints was actually no match for Human Demon. Not many people would believe this if word got out. That's all. After casually repelling the cold rays of light, Human Demon curled his lips and said indifferently, "It seems that there's nothing scary about Emperor Palace." As he spoke, Human Demon raised his head and looked at the main gate of Emperor Palace in the distance. His right foot stepped on the ground, and his figure quickly swept over. Judging from Human Demon's words, it was obvious that he wanted to force his way into Emperor Palace. Trespassers of Emperor Palace, die. Before the human demon came to the front gate of the sovereign palace, a robust voice resounded from the sovereign palace. Creak. Then, the main door of the Emperor Palace slowly opened and two figures strode out of the Emperor Palace. Ning Yu's eyes moved and fell on the two figures. Ning Yu wasn't familiar with one of the figures, but from the aura exuding from his body, Ning Yu guessed that he should be at the early stage of Saint Realm. As for the other figure, Ning Yu couldn't be more familiar with him. The current palace master of Emperor Palace, Di Shao. Ning Yu only had one thought in his mind about Di Shao, the executioner who broke up his family in this life, and that was to kill him. However, Ning Yu was very clear that with his current strength, even if he used all his trump cards, he would still be no match for Di Shao. This was because Di Zhao's cultivation had increased by a small level compared to when he went to Moling Mountain Range, not long ago. Early stage of Saint Realm. Not long ago, Di Shao was still at the half stage of Saint Realm. Not long after, Di Zhao's cultivation had actually increased to the early stage of Saint Realm. So it's you, you little bastard. When Ning Yu noticed Di Zhao's eyes also fell on Ning Yu. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.